They're equal. It's literally about who performs the best on the actual day.
We thank you all for your patience. We are heading into the game. I'll be leaving you with Gotboxy and Ryan Central for game number 1 of our lower bracket final.
It's going to be an exciting one, and draft is a key part of it. It was Kaya from, well, actually, no, it was Ducky over on Rad that was saying that it was the majority of the game was decided by these next couple of minutes. And it is going to be more of the same. Heretics want to try and get the one-sided gambit, but you are letting Shikigami, at this point, more than likely get the Elsa.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's going to be a case of the instant ban comes on through from Heretics on the Gambit to secure the one-sided Gambit. Shikigami going to be going for the instant ban onto the Elsa into likely the save onto one-sided Elsa. Loki gets removed because Heretics went for that Loki. There's the one-sided Elsa lock, but we do have a slight deviation from the last time, right? Because when Heretics and Shikigami went head-to-head the last time on Hell's Heaven, the ban line was actually Heretics saving the Mantis first, as opposed to the Gambit.
Yeah. And I mean, there's still the option to protect it a little bit later, unless it's banned out here from Shikigami. You would assume, but there is also the problem with Invisible Woman on the horizon too. It feels like you kind of want, if you're going to get Gambit, you cannot let that Invisible Woman go through. Maybe looking to try and one-side Shikigami. You have that option, but there is also the elements of like Deadpool Vanguard that's been protected a little bit more against the likes of Heretics. Tried to one-side it. That's what Navi did yesterday too. But it does look like they want to go for an Invisible Woman, which is going to be great for any dive-centric comps that Team Heretics want to run.
Oh, Shikigami were thinking about going for that Loki. They were like, if we get the Loki and we have God of Mischief, we can still potentially copy the Gambit from Heretics' back line, but they go for the Invisible Woman instead. Heretics do like running a lot of dive with Beetle on the Captain America. As, they're thinking about it. Daredevil might be a good play here too as well, because that really like cuts off the value that Kaya can find with a flex onto the Venom, because Heretics were in control of Hell's Heaven previously. It was Shikigami actually who changed their composition to that dive with both the Daredevil and the Venom that forced Heretics to have to field the White Fox in just counterplay to it. So taking it off the field means that you don't have that one-sided information lane coming on from the side of Frost Mountain.
And because there's so much still available, right? Like you want to ban out the Mantis here. You could ban out the Daredevil as like a mirrored option too. It's going to be the Mantis taken out, meaning that it is one-sided for Tanuki if Heretics want to run it. It's not only just the information of how the rest of the team can play off of a Daredevil for Shikigami. It's just Frost Mountain on that hero in particular could be an absolute monster, and turned it around after Rad got the first point on Celestial Husk. Shikigami switched over to more of a 2-2-2 setup, and they looked a lot more stronger as a result. But this is Heretics maybe running into the same issues yesterday. Sure, you can say that Laylas isn't quite maybe the same accolade as the likes of Terra for Navi, but I don't think it matters. Elsa is incredibly strong. Her CC capabilities are everywhere, and it's Heretics proving that it's not a draft problem, it was an execution one yesterday.
Yeah, Shikigami are also going to be seeing that, hey, we got Wolverine through. Last time Heretics did not enjoy going up against both the Wolverine and the Phoenix, and it ended up getting banned out, so Frost Mountain will be picking that one up almost instantly. Easter on the Hulk, banned out of the Vanguard Deadpool, which is a good play, I think, on the side of Heretics here. Domination, that ban hammer, it accumulates so quickly. It would really like force Name to have to burn the regeneration domain, potentially setting up follow-through from the side of Team Heretics when that really important cooldown is off the clock for a good 30 seconds. But that also means that you have the fastball special coming on out from the Hulk, as Kai is going to be starting on the Strange. Don't know if he'll be sticking on the Strange, but they do have the Invisible Woman on the side of Lindstrom, so through the portal he hops as opposed to swapping over to that Venom, and we're going to get this full brawl potential composition with both the Strange and the Elsa trying to make a little bit of space, and the Wolverine looking to counterplay Heretics' backline.
Yeah, diving in is the Rogue, actually, for Tanuki, as it's going to be a triple Vanguard line for Heretics on this attack. First, Naga is going to be moving over towards the Jean Grey to allow a very bully fight, honestly, from Heretics. Pretty much pushing back Shikigami. Not many eliminations, but a reset required after Shikigami going for the portal play. You sort of mentioned, like, there's no Deadpool Vanguard for Kaya to play with, but you also have that team up with Invisible Woman, just allowing a little bit more damage to be thrown out. More targets to hit with these Vanguards.
Well, speaking about Vanguards, Enzo already has Banhammer built up from the first fight because he's just getting to shred through the Strange and the Hulk, using them quite literally as a punching bag. Tanuki gets exiled, which means that Easter will be able to make it back to the rest of his team, but Heretics have already been able to establish such a forward hold. These fights have been very one-sided, so at the most part, Shikigami are closest to having strategist ultimates up, but Invisible Boundary is not a good engagement tool because it's so static, so you're relying on Frost Mountain instead. Wonderful feral grab onto Beetle, sets up for the Terror Cape follow-through, so Captain America is gone, and Heretics might lose Tanuki here too.
Was able to be stunned out for a second, but Isidore is there to finish his work now. Shikigami looking to try and go in for the leap. You do have the Eternal Bond if you want to try and push a little bit more, but the dive in is actually going to come from Naga on the other side. Beetle going for the pole play, allowing those 2 eliminations to return very quickly, and Lindstrom almost collecting the point for Shikigami, has to use this Invisible Boundary, keep this fight going. It's a hell of a dedication, so if this fight doesn't turn in the favor of the blue team, it's going to be a bit more precarious going forward now that Heretics have built their way up to 70%. Naga, though, free reign over on this corner. He actually manages to dodge Frost Mountain going in with the last stand. He gets an elimination onto Enzo with a Deadpool Vanguard, but it is actually Oasis that's able to grab a couple, spit them off the map. Nobody else is really going for the focus over in that corner, but he wants to try and compete and contest this now that Shikigami flipped the point.
Yeah, I think actually he wasn't able to find the spit off of the map because the window pane was in place, stopping him from having that environmental, so he just has to hold them and then spit them out a little bit later, allowing Heretics to pick apart Shikigami when they don't have those Vanguards. Kaya has already used that Strange TP too. I don't know if Shikigami will have it back in time, as Leolas does have the Apex Predator, the first of the Elsa ultimates, so you can really see what impact Heretics are having, being able to control this tempo, just not allowing this Elsa to be able to set up to have that level of damage. Lindstrom's going to be close to Invisible Boundary. Fastball special comes on through. Overtime's there. There's the Elsa ultimate, but there's very little follow through. And with Enzo about to get another Banhammer up, Lindstrom's going to be in danger.
Yeah, has to be very careful with where it takes this fight. It's been and found the target. Lindstrom holding onto the Invisible Boundary. You can see just how much space again. Naga just on this right-hand side. Nobody's looking at it with all of these bodies and faces from Heretics. The Vanguards are just taking so much of the stress. Never mind. Kai just turns around, claps him, sends him back to the spawn very quickly. And a Freedom Charge allowing basically another strategist ultimate for Heretics to keep this fight going. 99% overtime is on the cards for Shikigami. They have to flip the point and they have to use so much more. Invisible Boundary trying to collect those plays for Shikigami to group up together, but Oasis might have just scooped them up again, not able to spit anybody off the map just this case again, but the pullback is going to force some of the Vanguards to be taken down. Beetle goes through, as it is going to be the copy from Name to go for his own Invisible Boundary. Worldbreaker seeing if he can make this Gambit squeal a little bit more. Naga reimbursed himself back into this fight, elimination with the end song. But finally, Shikigami only able to actually get up to 20%. Heretics at least have a good window to build up some ults.
Let no one say that Hulk is bad in this meta, because Isidore just actually pulled off a miracle there for Shikigami. Name has to use the Invisible Boundary, but it's so deep on Shikigami's own side of the map because of the pressure coming on through from that Gambit ultimate on the side of Alex. It's up to Easter with the Worldbreaker to just keep Heretics off of the map and not let them flip. Aya Agamotto is going to be in play. Potential follow-through from the last time coming on through from Frost Mountain as well, but Tanuki's so close to having this Heartbreaker online. And yet again, this Phoenix is just uncontested on the side lane. Frost Mountain gets a huge stun. Banham has gone down onto Leolas though, so the damage tick slowly starting to chip some of that Elsa's health bar down. Apex Predator is on the cards. Alex does not have the Gambit ult to purify, but so too does Shikigami. Just not have any way of pressuring the Phoenix all the way back on Heretics' backline.
Even when they're trying to scoop up these fights and break the line of sight for Naga, it's still not really enough. You can see just how much of the stress is going to go onto the front line of Heretics, and it means that Naga does have this free reign. Away from the Mantis, it was banned out. He's going to go back to that Duelist. The copy over from Name to see if they can go aggressive. They have the tools in order to do it, and Invisible Boundaries to boot. Heretics now looking at the clock and thinking, okay, we might need to go for a portal play ourselves in order to try and touch this because we've been forced all the way back. But now they need to be very careful. You see Shikigami wanted to be a bit more offensive, but now expecting that Heretics are just going to go for a Route 1 approach.
Oasis could be huge here. The problem is that you have to get past the Hulk bubbles That's one bubble going to be used though for the cooldown. Invisible Boundary should get dropped now. Phoenix going to be looking for the Ensong Inferno, trying to get the hit onto Lindstrom through the ultimate. Doesn't get Lindstrom, but gets both the Loki and the Elsa, and Shikigami now are dang precious players. Kaya only now falls, so he still has to come and prove the World Breaker, just trying to hold the space. But there's the Chef from Oasis, taking him off the side of the map and making it that Shikigami just do not have players to keep overtime and play long enough for a strange TP to come through, and Heretics will be able to finish off Frozen Airfield and take us down to Eldritch Monument.
That's just the first point, Moxie. That's just the first point of a potential long day. I think America's viewers has still probably asleep, considering it finished at 8 a.m. our time in the UK.
Yeah.
Long shift, but this is going to be more of the same. So if you're still looking for those drops, then you've come to the right place, because this series is going to be back and forwards like it was last time. And a big pick there, I think, from Naga in particular with the end song going onto Layla's just as that Apex Predator was used. We saw a couple of like misses, not from Layla specifically, but some of those else ultimates not finding a huge impact. This is the case where you don't want to let that slide, especially when you have it one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, though, is that Heretics are just controlling the tempo so well. Like, they've got the Rogue, they've got the Hearts as one team-up coming on through from Alex, running a triple Vanguard composition, too. Means that you actually have the damage, well, the health bars, to absorb all of that high damage potential, especially since Shikigami don't have the Mantis to be able to buff up the stats. Kaya's going to be starting off with a strange TP. Shikigami wants to just get onto the point, be able to go intercept Heretics before they have that high ground position to put this Phoenix to good work and pressure out the backline.
Yeah, Kaya wanted to try and channel his inner Black Sow, as it was his strength yesterday that made Shikigami have to play another full best-of-5 series. The reps are real, as it's Beetle that's running in with the Freedom Charge to go onto the offensive, charge up these ultimates for Heretics a lot faster. And when you got the likes of Heartbreaker there for Tanuki almost available, it could be very pivotal now that they're a player down in this engagement. Leolis wanting to try and win this fight up against the Duelist on the other side. Naga takes to the sky, and Leolis clips his wings all the way down. Shikigami been very good in winning these first fights, and it seems to be the case here for the second point. And Heretics, yeah, they have some ultimates at least built up, but Shikigami sitting back feeling comfortable on the monument.
Such a good eye of Agamotto. Found his way onto Beetle through the Freedom Charge from that Captain America, so Shikigami just went through the CC chain onto Beetle, wasn't able to survive long enough to help the rest of his team, and winning that fight too at the cost of only the Strange ult. Now it means that Name has this eternal bond for when you really need it. Hence Tanuki coming on through with the Heartbreaker. Like, Name has to make sure he's far enough back that the Rogue does not find first contact onto the CD and drain your ult before you get the opportunity to use it.
Tanuki's taking a bit of a beating, but he has his ultimate now, looking to try and go in off of the fight and might have a Raging Royal Flush to match up to it very soon. What's it taking out? It's going to not really get onto the side of the Eternal Bond that Name just built up, but Frost Mountain was sent back ever so slightly with his ult charge for the last stand. Not going to need it, though. As the dive came in from Heretics, Shikigami kind of disposed of it, and now going to use the last stand to try to see if they can clear up a little bit more, but it seemed like it just completely missed.
No, it got Enzo, I believe, but Vanguard Deadpool was able to get just like healed up by the rest of his team. Tanuki is actually going to go onto the Daredevil, which is a swap that Heretics will now use to punish Shikigami's lack of Daredevil due to that ban draft. Usually, the counter would be mirroring the Daredevil and having that same level of information. So with the passive, they know exactly what Shikigami will be bunkered up, running upon them with the Raging Roll Flush. Lindstrom with the Invisible Boundary sets up the slow, though, and Leolas gets a huge Apex Predator. Oasis tries to go for the E to be able to sustain the team and potentially take them out of the jaws of Glartrox, but it's broken very quickly, and Shikigami remain in control.
Staggering Alex. Oh, they managed to catch him just on the way out. That's a big loss, actually, now that we're reaching 90% here. And the switchovers mean that, like, Heretics have to try and go in for this fight, this engagement. You do have the Ensong Inferno for Naga if he wants to make this fight happen on the point, but these fastballs might make it a little bit harder to at least get into overtime. It's happened, though, for Heretics, able to go in for this fight, but close quarters on this low ground. You have the Wolverine and the Hulk just laying into you. You have to be a little bit more scared. Heretics seeing, now that they have to keep a foot on the point, how they can push back these players of Shikigami into a fight they don't want to take. The Ensong is going to come in right down into the corridor. It cleans up another two, and Tanuki on the Daredevil, flushing the rest of this team out. Flips over in favor of Heretics, but it's 99% for Shikigami.
Yeah, but Team Heretics now, that one-sided Daredevil, it's going to hurt. Plus, they're staggering out this late elimination onto Eastdor stuck in the puny banner form. Tanuki's going to have let the devil out. Shikigami too, wanting to go for a strange TP. Name already in that cloak form, wanting the follow-up of the Terror Cape. Out of the teleport, they jump, only running into Beetle to be able to hold this point. He's got the Freedom Charge if he gets a little bit too pressured without his strategist there to potentially have the line of sight due to the cutoff from the strange TP. Shikigami going to just bunker up, waiting, playing the long con, wanting Nami to have Eternal Bond before they decide to make their move. And Heretics, they're scouting out this hesitation. They're understanding, okay, they don't have the ultimates just yet. Pretty soon they will, though. They have to come to us, and then we can try and hit their backline at the same time.
And they see all of this from Tanuki's POV too, and you can tell the Shikigami are constantly looking over their shoulder. The Eternal Bond is going to mean that you could just sort of springboard onto this objective and fight from it with a little bit more sustain. And now you have got the Banhammer used from Enzo on the other side. I have Agamotto coming in to try and connect onto the other Vanguard, but a Freedom Charge used to help support Heretics through all of this damage. Tanuki's taking an absolute bludgeoning, and with the Let the Devil Out in hand, he is going to want to hold on to it. That was his choice in the end. You have got a Royal Flush from Alex too, but they're down in numbers. Seeing if they can actually reset this engagement. The Shikigami, their window had closed.
Yeah, this is now really rough for Shikigami. They've used Strange TP, they used that Eternal Bond too, so for the side of Heretics, they know you only have one strategist ult in the form of the Invisible Boundary, and Heretics have so many things that can force it. You're going to have to use it for Raging Royal Flush. Oasis has the Jeff, wants to find that flank, is scouting out where exactly Lindstrom is, relaying that information so that Heretics, they can just hit Shikigami mid-rotation before they even get to the point with that Raging Royal Flush, forcing Lindstrom to have to use the boundary off of the point. And Song Inferno comes on through. The detonation is onto Leolas, so no Apex Predator to try to clutch this fight. Boundary's done, but Tanuki's ultimate still going, and Heretics are in full control of the tempo.
Yeah, they've forced this fight into a bad spot for Shikigami, and it's just Bruce Banner left to try and fight this. It was 99% for Shikigami, but Heretics holding on, making good use of the 3-4 one-sided characters they had available, but also starting to see Heretics shine in the right ways. Seeing Tanuki on the Daredevil when it's one-sided, we don't get to see that head-to-head against Frost Mountain. Might change up how the draft looks. Both of these teams as well, Moxie, a bit slow to adjust to drafts. It took a couple of goes for Shikigami to adjust to what the likes of Fire Strays were doing. For Heretics, I think it was Oasis that said in the interview himself, they left it till the last map against Shikigami last time to make the right changes. They didn't have that luxury against Navi yesterday.
I mean, you're looking at Beetle as well. Like, the fact that Oasis is on the Jeff means that you're having to match one Gambit ultimate sustainability to the potential of two, right? Both the Cloak and Dagger and that Invisible Woman have far more potential sustainability with their ult cycles in comparison to the Jeff, which is very, very small and won't really be able to heal you and keep you alive in the scrutiny of, say, something like a Last Stand or even that Apex Predator coming on through. So Heretics using Beetle's Freedom Charge there to be able to mirror the sustained potential of Name's Eternal Bond literally just meant that they were fully in the driver's seat the moment that Shikigami had to use Eternal Bond, that teleport fight. They understand, like, okay, you've used it, we can just wait for it to be done, we've still got our Captain America, we're still going to be able to hold on to the point, we'll win the fight once it's done, and then we'll win the next one after because Invisible Boundary has to be used early.
Trading sides, these two teams. We'll see how Shikigami want to take us, whether it's Central Park or not, after this break.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
1,000 gods!
A solid start for Shikigami, which immediately got flipped after an incredible comeback from Heretics. We thought this one was going to be close, and it's exactly what we were looking forward to. However, what happens when Shikigami lose a map? We go to Central Park, Moxie.
Yeah, but they can bleed on this map, right? We saw them lose it earlier yesterday, especially to things like that Venom coming on through. So I feel like Heretics are going to be looking at that and thinking, oh, okay, it's vulnerable potentially to dive. And especially in the ban draft, you can really start dismantling some of the key composition parts to the triple strategist or that torch composition that Shikigami are so known for when they're defending this first point.
Ryan, this seems to be a map, like Moxie said, Shikigami can bleed, but it's where they do some of their craziest stuff, especially with Doctor Strange, being able to go for those defensive and aggressive portals. They also have brought out the torch here. There's a lot to be scared of.
For sure, it was just that we didn't see all that much like shine from it when it came to playing up against Fire Strays yesterday, but I think so much of that came less down to like hero drafts or which heroes were banned out or protected. It was a lot of just like general error because it had been a long series for all of those teams up until that point. And it just sort of reminds me of what Kai was saying in that first week of interviews, that the thing that they were working on wasn't inherently their hero pools, it was just the polish. It was making sure that they didn't feed as a team and just trying to make sure that everything was a lot more succinct. Yesterday, it didn't quite hit the mark, but you do at least know that you got the win over Heretics beforehand. It's just that Heretics, from what we've seen so far, if they do get beat down, they do come back stronger.
And while, let's be honest, this is the preseason, if there is a time to like get out these bugbears from your composition, now is the time to do so. But we have seen so much improvements, in particular from Shikigami, Moxie, from the group stage into here.
Yeah, and especially like if Shikigami have that potential full hold turned against them, well, we know that they can turn to things like the Storm coming on out from Frost Mountain too. I feel like that cat has sort of been out of the bag for a little bit though, so Heretic starting off in that defense might be coming in with something that looks a little bit like a Namor or potentially some level of hit scan to be able to try and put a little bit more pressure on that Storm so that Shikigami don't just get to barge the castle gates open with one-sided damage boost in the first fight.
And Ryan, I'll let you continue with your thought on Team Heretics from earlier. They had such an incredible looking group stage, but they have found themselves now here in the lower bracket and losing maps in the earlier stages of the playoffs as well. But even losing that first round versus Shikigami in the first map we just came from, they're not the infallible team we were looking at from groups.
Oh, no, absolutely. And to be honest, that's kind of any of the EMEA teams. I know people will be shocked and surprised that Virtus Pro got eliminated. We are as well. But we have seen Virtus Pro, Berber, Patspim, Rad, Navi, like these teams lose even in tournaments to go down to losers brackets and then end up winning the whole thing right at the end. Bounce back is a necessity. No team is going to go on this like dominant legacy run where they don't drop maps forever. But this Heretics team is so well experienced in these kind of tournaments that frankly, it's what they're built on. The other side of why I think Shikigami picked this too is because the Berber Patspim Citadel's core that Team Heretics were exceptional at Convoy. And that seems to be the case here as well, like 7 wins out of 8. They only lost on Yggdrasil yesterday against Na'Vi. Yeah, you're not going to want to take them to that pure payload game mode. You want to take them to a map that, despite the fact that you lost it yesterday, is still something that we haven't seen a lot of from Heretics.
The teams are ready, so we will get to see potentially at least a little bit of it from them here, as we will be heading into map number 2 very, very shortly. We were talking about the Elsa being a priority and how it could be game-changing, but we did just see Heretics beat a one-sided Elsa. Moxie, is it just fine now? Do they just leave it, or is it still something that they should address?
I mean, the fact that you're going to be starting off on like the defense, at least on one of these sides, does mean that it can be a little bit easier to intercept the Elsa before she hits that power spike. Close holding, especially with that high verticality position that the defense can just hit into the backline, be it on a strategist or on a duelist mid-rotation, can be very, very strong at just circumventing an attack push.
Map 2 of this best of 5. Can Shikigami bring it back, or will Heretics continue that fated journey for the Na'Vi rematch?
Pretty much is Gambit, Elsa, Elsa, Gambit, Gambit, Elsa, Mantis, Daredevil, Spider-Man, sometimes Gambit, Elsa, Elsa, Gambit. That's pretty much how these drafts have been so far, and I already saw that there was a Gambit locked in from Heretics. Shikigami, I do still think it's worth like leaning on the Elsa in this case. You don't have to rely on the Gambit all that much. It's just the ends of these drafts where Heretics have been a little bit more particular, and I think that spot on taking out the Daredevil was a good fix.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, though, I think, like, with the Gambit, with the Mag, with the Rogue damage potential and neutral off of the Hearts as one team-up, you can sort of just, like, overrun an attack without just relying solely on having one-sided Gambit altcast. Like, you can do so much damage when you just send your Rogue into Brawl, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially if, like, Heretics want to just have the Gambit Starlord combo open as well, potentially, if they do have to face down something like the Ultron Torch composition that Shikigami are known for when they play defense.
This pretty much is the same. Both sides have flipped. Shikigami choosing the map of Central Park, but also to attack first, which kind of works nicely with if you want to run some Deadpool Vanguard, that you could just sort of like get the most out of it. You don't need to change up comps. You can kind of like run along with it. But that might also get banned out from Heretics if we're going by what the last draft gave us. And it's going to be the same again.
Vanguard Deadpool. Team Heretics removing it from play. Now, do they save the Rogue here, the Star-Lord here, the Mantis here? Like, they have so many options open. They go for one-sided Vanguard Deadpool instead, which, yeah, did work out really, really well for them in terms of that last domination map. Like you said, if it is going to be Flyers, being able to have Banhammer build up so quickly, a lot of the time it's an execution state if you manage to get it onto something like an Ultron, even through the Rage of Ultron. But that does mean that no one gains access to the Mantis, and I think all of your duelist players are breathing a big sigh of relief that they don't have to play double duty and keep up with a duelist on the other side who has that 12% boost. Shikigami, though, they want to keep their options open. Like, it's Central Park, there's going to be dive in play, both on attack and on defense, and you want to be able to have things like that Daredevil passive. They thought about it for Frost Mountain. Going for the one-sided Invisible Woman probably means that this is a Daredevil ban coming on out from the side of Team Heretics, but they might look at the Wolverine too.
Yeah, Wolverine is going to be good for any like fastball plays that are going to come out, because we have seen that a little bit more. Last Stand is just very good, I think, on fighting this first point as well, to either pull everybody together on the attacking side or pull everybody off of the objective if you're the defensive side. I think the Deadpool Vanguard is a really good ban too, because not only are you starting to hit some of the players like Kaya, who has been a superb Vanguard Deadpool, but also the team up with Elsa for one, and also it's just a good option for any kind of composition, similar to what Elsa provides as a duelist. Deadpool Vanguard is like that for the front line as well. He sort of is interchangeable, and it also is going to suit Enzo, who is also a terrific tank pool.
Well, here we go. Shikigami going to be starting off on the attack, so it might swap off of this torch composition. You start on the Angela too. Might just be using that higher speed to be able to get the scout off. As a Team Heretics, they're actually going to be starting not on something like a Namor, in case we get a storm, but we do have Tanuki fielded over to that Phoenix, the solo duelist for this team, as yet again they go with this triple strategist line, forgoing even the Rogue and the Mag, despite Alex getting the Gambit through.
Yeah, we're sort of having a bit of a fly around the POV as we're seeing, but you're about to see a bit more of a fly around as there is a torch hovered from Frost Mountain, as they do want to go for this triple flyer composition with the Angela. Heretics have seen this. Shikigami actually took a map against Na'Vi with it, and Na'Vi in the grand finals going, okay, how are Team Heretics going to deal with this? Because we struggled a little bit more.
There's a split coming out. Shikigami, all of their flyers are actually wrapping all the way around the back of this point. Beetle looking for an in to try and hit these strategists, but the guard is there. Kaya is playing bouncer to the Captain America's approach, not letting him through. And Shikigami, they've already got such a huge presence, just like wrapping all the way around this part of Central Park, forcing Team Heretics to just have so many different positions that they have to be concerned about.
Yeah, and you can see just Frost Mountain, let's lead over towards the left-hand side. Meanwhile, like you mentioned, Kaya on the ground. Follow me, ladies. Let's just make our way over to the objective, trying to isolate some of these picks and targets. Looking towards Enzo, that's forced to use the Deadpool in your area AoE, and actually takes out Naga clean cut out of the sky.
The body block as well from Easter. Saw Frost Mountain going low. Steps in with the Angela shield directly in front so that the torch stays standing before getting the spear off onto your Ultron. That's Shikigami getting first tick and potentially more. Unless Team Heretics go for a strange TP. Yep, there's the swap onto the portal, but there's nothing to really be able to stabilize this position. No Loki regeneration domain, no strategist ultimate. Beetle's got to jump through, but it's not in time, and you go directly into the ring of fire, which just charges Frost Mountain's ultimate a little bit faster.
Rada doing the Leo DiCaprio like whistle, like pointing at the TV. Like, it is that easy to make that mistake against Shikigami on this map. So a reset is in order for Heretics. You have got like more of these like 2-2 setups now, very dive centric. You've got Oasis over on the Lunar Snow without that White Fox pairing to just make sure that that dive has a little bit more fear from Shikigami, that you have some CC in order to work with, and also to try and group everybody up together with the fate of both worlds. Now May trying to spot exactly where these players from Heretics actually dove in onto, as Heretics are looking to try and take a fight early.
Well, I mean, the big swap from the side of Heretics is actually Star-Lord. This is what we talked about, right? If you've got the Ultron, if you've got the Torch, this is your best way of counter-playing it, as Alex is getting really close to that Gambit ultimate to empower that Galactic Legend. Kaya manages to catch Tanuki, Rage of Ultron from behind on the side of Shikigami, who yet again just continue eroding the map space from Heretics, not allowing them to stabilize, because Heretics, like their front line, it's so more mobile than that backline, right? Beetle's playing to just try and interfere with the objective, put pressure on Shikigami's backline, but that means there's far less peel on the side of someone like Oasis in comparison to Lindstrom and Nami. Invisible Boundary, it's so aggressive from the side of Lindstrom. They have zero concerns about potentially letting a Gambit Star-Lord ult combo go through, because they just were able to separate the Gambit from the Star-Lord.
This could have been a bit of a backfire from Shikigami, wanted to go offensive with the Invisible Boundary, but it left the door open for Heretics to actually just backcap the objective and hold on to it. Now the offense has come out from Heretics, just as Shikigami bottlenecked Heretics from these two chokes. You've got the likes of Supernova for Human Torch as well, that you could just sort of usher Heretics away from the objective and get yourself a very quick second checkpoint. But it was an overstep, it was punished, and now Shikigami, despite the fact that they have a very mobile composition that could just go over this castle, it's a hard place to pick up the objective from.
I mean, you're looking at Isidore. You're really looking at Isidore being able to body block this Galactic Legend coming on through when Alex uses that Gambit ult. They're going to actually hold on to it, using it only now, catching the disengage. First stage Gambit ult to force Shikigami back, then Galactic Legend on the second step to actually catch them before they can go back into the spawn and hop behind any form of cover. Really good way of being able to play those ults. You know that Shikigami don't have strategist ults to be able to survive one or the second, and it gets you so much more time to be able to set up Tanuki on this position and just tax Shikigami's approach. They've swapped to dive though. Kaya's on the Venom, Cross Mountain the Daredevil, something that Heretics thought about banning out but chose not to, which means that Beetle is going to have to play Peel with this Freedom Charge when the backline gets hit by the dive.
Oh, like Captain America is just so good in these kind of like neutral engagements, offensive, defensive. He's going to be able to just be in awe of these kind of scraps as they go in. A dive leaped in from Kaya and it's sent straight back. You got Nami to switch over towards the Jeff for the team up there amongst Frost Mountain being able to be back onto that Daredevil. The dive, however, just in the time it took to set up, instantly sent back to spawn, and Heretics pretty much having full rule of the courtyard. Beetle is going to be the one that gets all of this information to see where everybody's coming from, and Shikigami boxed in despite a very open point.
Yeah, it might be boxed into Lindstrom's Invisible Boundary too. Like, your hands are about to be tied in terms of where you're going to get to use it, because Heretics, they're literally right behind your spawn, and Tanuki has the Endsong Inferno. Like, you're trying to get close enough to the objective that you can use the boundary on the actual point itself, but you're still having to be constantly worried about this Captain America in the backline, just rewriting all of your attention. Enzo comes on through with the Banhammer, still no Invisible Boundary baited out of it. Now we get it, but this just means that Tanuki will be on the countdown, wait the 8 seconds for it to drop, come through with an Endsong Inferno, stall out the fight long enough for Heretics to hit the true win condition, the Gambit and the Star-Lord.
Nami going in with it. It's Jeff as Frost Mountain trying to be offensive in nature. Tanuki holding the S key, but he's still able to get the elimination as he peels away from the attack. However, Shikigami have used this as a good chance to actually get a hold of the massive squirrel on the objective and push it right the way through to second. The good thing, Moxie, a lot of time was bought for Heretics.
Yeah, the bad news, though, is that Alex is the last player to fall. So Team Heretics, like, they're still going to try and hold their space because Oasis just having that range with Jeff. They don't want to give too much up for free against Shikigami, but they're just waiting for the Gambit to come back through with the true retake play. This Gambit ultimate potentially just on its own because, again, Shikigami, no strategist ults. You do have to worry about the Meteor M from Eastdoor absorbing some of the hits coming on through from this Galactic Legend, as Tanuki is tasked with clearing that Venom to make sure that Kaya doesn't just get in onto the backline and force Heretics to split their attention, weakening up the front.
Oh, Tanuki versus Frostmat and Daredevil head-to-head. Let's go. These are the kind of matchups we want to see, but Layla's one-sided. Elsa is going to be trying to admin the server as much as they possibly can. Let the Devil out. Farmed up first from Frostmat when he's been on the character a lot further, but he has got this Galactic Flush maybe coming out in the hands. You at least have the Royal Flush from Alex, and a little bit delayed, a little bit later was Naga with the Galactic Legend. The timing well-suited. Doesn't get the buff towards the end. Doesn't need it. He's cleaned up houses. 1 minute left for Shikigami to push this further on their attack.
They're about to hit some huge ults, though. Leolas will have the Apex Predator, so all eyes on Oasis to see if you can get the It's Jeff to save your teammates the way you would them grab out of a strangling prison. But, I mean, if Leolas gets the angle, Glatrox can just grab them off the side of the map, which is exactly what they're going to be looking to do. There's the wraparound rotation, playing more of that distance, having a little bit more cover too, and forcing Heretics to have to just rotate back to the actual objective itself. Kaya's been scouted. Tanuki makes a little bit of a misplay. Might have been trying to go for a Devil's Latch to grab someone off of the map, but ends up going up himself. Beetle comes on through with the Freedom Charge. Apex Predator is there, but Leolas is taken off the map by the cap, and now Lindstrom has to use the invisible boundary just to buy time for Shikigami to try and formulate a response. They get the Star-Lord. Tanuki's about to hit the Let the Devil out, and Heretics, once the boundary's gone, they've got the true elimination potential, and it's OT. Shikigami cannot manage to kite this out. Nami with a huge Eternal Bond is enough sustainability, but now you have to get the Dark Teleportation to dodge Oasis's ult.
Tanuki let the Devil out. He takes so much damage. Let the Devil back in. Let the Devil back in. He retreats back into the castle, which is definitely going to be failing some health and safety notice, considering he fell off of the map shortly before. But Heretics are still able to scrap out this fight. You have got Oasis that might be licking his lips to get a grab to take everybody from Shikigami away from the objective. Ultimates-wise for Shikigami on this attack, not too much. You have the Royal Legend actually clambering its way through. It's Naga finding all of the picks one at a time, drip by drip. Shikigami are running out of fuel to push this attack further, and Heretics stopping this just shy of third.
That's why I was slightly concerned about a lack of Star-Lord ban in the draft. And when I say slightly, I mean extremely. Because, like, now Shikigami, if they try to go for, like, the Torch, the Ultron play, right? Heretics, all they have to do is get one good Gambit Star-Lord combo, and away goes Shikigami's whole win condition.
And I think they said that, like, after their win against Na'Vi, they said as soon as the draft was over, they knew that they won. And I believe that draft did end with a Star-Lord ban from them to make it one-sided. For that reason, you also, like, have access to the likes of, like, Meteor M, which is also used to, like, mitigate some of that. Kaya is actually going to be over on the Magneto, if this is to believe so far on this defense. But it's like, there's so many good options, certainly for this Vanguard frontline for Shikigami. One of the more flexible ones, certainly matching up with what Team Heretics are giving. But it's still, like, way too much to deal with, and Heretics do make the right adjustments very quickly in the middle of a game. It's just the adjustments to drafts that I think they struggle with. When it's even like this, they're just going to deal with whatever Shikigami throw their way.
I mean, speaking about throwing, we're probably getting a Logan, a Wolverine being thrown Shikigami's way as soon as the doors open. Enzo will be on the Hulk, Tanuki the Wolf. So you've got the fastball special, but do Heretics actually decide to stick with this composition? Because, like, the moment they scout out, there's going to be a Torch Ultron. It's likely going to be a move to the Gambit, the Star-Lord. Yeah, we can already actually even see. Tanuki's already on the Star-Lord. Oasis goes to the Luna, having that freeze potential of if Shikigami try to go and put pressure on the backline, but also the Idol Aura to give extra survivability to the Star-Lord, who's really going to have to work in double time. You've got to clear out both the Ultron and the Torch, all while worrying about Isidore clearing you out too. Like, this Angela is literally just going to be counted Star-Lord per measures.
Also, just remember the Frost Mountain said something about Team Heretics. He called them triple strategist merchants. And Heretics now on the 2-2 roster saying, are you sure about that, son? As Tanuki and Naga are the ones to take up to the sky. It is a battle above ground, but we're seeing it just from the players that aren't able to traverse the skies all that much. Enzo stunned out with the banhammer. It's still going to go through onto this backline as Alex was taken out in transit. And now you've got Frost Mountain actually retreating from the skies, wanted to take some cover in the bunker spot. The Shikigami are so well versed in playing. Finds a pick onto Enzo after the ultimate, and it's going to force a reset whilst Heretics try and regroup.
Yeah, there's a very high priority list as well on the side of Shikigami. Bonus points if you can get the Star-Lord or the Gambit, because that's going to delay the ult conditions here coming on through from the side of Team Heretics. Like, Beetle's trying to do everything that he can. He's not going for eliminations. He's, like, literally just trying to turn the focus. Look at the Captain America, peel your backline, and allow Shikigami not to be in position with this Torch and Ultron to play around that corner cover and put the pressure on your team walking out from main. Enzo's been able to break out onto the point, starts firing away, building back up to that next banhammer, but Lindstrom has the invisible boundary, and now we have the true test, Ryan. Alex is about to get the Gambit ult up. Tanuki, the Galactic Legend. This is where Shikigami could potentially lose the Flyers. Invisible boundary overlaps with the Rage of Ultron, which means that Tanuki can just wait it out to be done and then potentially come back through in this next fight. So it's going to be up to Kaya with the Meteor M to sustain you through that one, because Torch and Ultron cannot gain healing from Eternal Bond unless the Torch dives into it.
Yeah, they have to be pretty much scraping themselves along the ground, but it's a good call. Heretics using the Royal Flush. Tanuki was 88% having the ultimate, so that was part of the plan. They want to try bait out as much as they can from Shikigami and just let the skies be a little bit more clear. You have the Supernova used from Frost Mountain, and Tanuki is potentially sending him down to the ground. Meteor M trying to eat up as much of the damage as possible. Isn't going to lead to an elimination from Kaya, but it means that the full duration for Tanuki's ultimate doesn't get too much. He does catch Frost Mountain, try to retreat back to his strategists in the backline, who are now trying to spring their way back onto the objective with the Eternal Bond. Everything's been upgraded and moved out of the objective, and Heretics looking to try to like peel this back. It's not sure whether they're in or out. They found some picks, but it's actually Shikigami coming in with a portal to make sure that this sort of in-between isn't going to find much for Heretics.
Yeah, but that Heaven's Retribution will be sustained through with the Freedom Charge. Oasis still has Fate of both worlds. Pick potential, damage boost potential onto the End Song Inferno 2. Shikigami already down one of these ticks. Going to have to put boots on the point soon or they'll lose control of first. There's the End Song with the damage boost. Lindstrom falls and he was the closest strategist to ult. So Shikigami now relying on Rage of Ultron instead.
And it's the portal already used from Shikigami, which means that they can't stall out the point now, but they also can't go for these aggressive defenses that they try and go for. They want to try and end things here. With 30 seconds left, it's a Rage of Ultron perfectly placed from Leolis to provide a little bit of space. Heretics have to give some space up.
They've got the Gambit. Oh, Tanuki falls off the map. Alex has the ultimate, though. Heretics can still make a play for this. Lindstrom does not yet have invisible boundary. Shikigami are scrambling. Take poke, convert it to a strategist. I'll have both to be able to survive the Royal Flush coming on through when we go into OT. Enzo's got the Banhammer, too. There's the invisible boundary in reaction to Alex's ultimate. Lindstrom lives, and Name still has the Eternal Bond for afterwards. Even if Tanuki gets the Let the Devil out in time, it's going to have to take so much coordination to bait one strategist ult up and still have the End Song Inferno to finish out the fight.
Eye of Agamotto going to come through. Doesn't connect onto anybody from Heretics. They're all able to try and dodge it in the end. The portal is going to be used from Beetle as the Let the Devil Out is going to come through from Tanuki. One of the strategists has gone down on the other side, though. However, in fact, two of them for Heretics. They don't have any more healing to come through, as it looks like a seed on Kaya. The Vanguards wanted to smash this point and stop it right in its tracks. Team Heretics having flashbacks of how this map went last for them, as they're really struggling to get things going. Spider-Man is going to fly in from Frost Mountain to really aid and help this defense as the cleaves come through from the axes, pulls everybody off of the point, and Shikigami even us up with a stalwart defense.
Oh my goodness. Shikigami completing another awful hold coming on out of their defense on the side of Central Park. I mean, like, we talk about the Torch, we talk about the Ultron, we have to talk about Isidore. I mean, we have to, he's the MVP. But the things that this Angela was, like, doing, both on the attack, but also the defense, to be able to interfere. When Heretics wanted to make plays both onto the backline or put pressure onto the Flyers, they've got to get past the Angela first. And you can, like, say that, okay, yeah, Angela isn't normally a character who does all that much damage. We don't see, in terms of stats, all that high in impact for her, because she's about things like displacement and peel. And that's things that you have to sort of read between the lines to be able to see. So the fact that we're actually getting an Angela MVP goes to show exactly how impactful Isidore truly was. 7 final hits, 15k damage, and 40,000 damage blocked. But crucially, look at the accuracy. That's a melee character who's sitting at almost 70%.
I mean, it's crazy that Isidore was just completely clearing it up the skies for Shikigami. It does mean, however, the Heretics have the free reign of a convoy choice. It's a good game mode for them. We'll see exactly which one they're looking to take after this break.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Is on. 1,000 cuts!
We talked yesterday a little bit about how Dracula's castle should possibly even be renamed to Shikigami's castle at this point, as you said, Moxie, but someone I want to really bring up there is it really kind of came down to Kaya's castle there, because they did so much. They were holding the front line, defending the back line. They went 10 final hits for their team. Why was Kaya so impactful there?
I mean, the fact that it was the first elimination of Shikigami's defense being Kaya getting the pick onto Alex on that gambit meant that we got a delay in the first cast of that Raging Roll Flush, and allowed Shikigami the opportunity to build up resources to counter it. You're running a triple strategist backline, which means that you're having to split all of that healing 3 ways. The chances of you actually getting first strategist ultimate online are very, very slim, and that's why, again, we get to see like the strength of the Invisible Woman. Having that amount of pierce, especially when all of your team are kiting up behind the point of first on Central Park, means that the invisible boundary builds so quickly, but so too with the stack AoE healing of the Ultron drone does Rage of Ultron, and so many times in those fights it was like literally if they don't get this ultimate up now, they probably lose the full hold and we go into second.
Magneto not so much being the savior of all mutants there, but being the savior of the courtyard, holding on together, as none of the backline were mutant in this case. But Ryan, let's look ahead to the future. We sit at 1-1, and it's convoy time, as it looks like Heretics have chosen to take us to Yggdrasil Path.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the convoy game mode is pretty good for them. They're 7-1 on it, but the one loss that they did have yesterday on this map was against Na'Vi. So it's whether they managed to pick stuff. Shikigami also winning out against Rad on this map yesterday means that we've seen very recent games of both of them.
And it looks like this time, after the first 2 games, the teams are ready very quickly. So we are heading in. We're not wasting any time. Let's head into map number 3 of Shikigami versus Heretics.
Can't waste any time. We've got a best of 7 later. And unlike all of the other best of 7s, I think that we have, Moxie, it's probably going to be closer than a 4-0 Virtus Pro win because there's no Virtus Pro. It looks like it's going to be more bans on the Gambit for Heretics, and Elsa one-sided. Shikigami didn't really need to rely on the Elsa all that much in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that last ban, though, that Heretics used against the Wolverine on Central Park, maybe if you change that to something like the Ultron, so they can't run a triple strategist line, you might be able to find a little bit more value, at least at stopping the triple strat, because we know it's convoy, triple strategist, especially on Yggdrasil Path, is always going to be in the discussion for playability. As with the Gambit save, yet again, we go back into Loki ban, Elsa Bloodstone save, but for me it really is up to Team Heretics. Like, how do you adapt? How do you now try to ban in anticipation of what Shikigami are going to be running at you? Is it going to be looking at the triple strategist line? Is it going to be taking out the Loki so that Shikigami can't just stall for eternity with the Adam Warlock Loki res?
This is where things start to really diverse in choices here. Deadpool Vanguard has been the common third ban for Heretics to make sure that Enzo is the only one in the server, but both sides actually taking this out makes sense because the triple Vanguard line is something that both teams have been very keen on using on their attacking side for sure.
Yeah, I think as well, like, the fact, too, that, like, Deadpool gets the upgrades in the OT rounds, and if both teams are looking at getting that potential full push through Yggdrasil Path, which we have seen in the past, you don't want one-sided Deadpool upgrade in the lobby before your strategists have ultimates to be able to try and survive through an early build-up of the ban hammer. I do like the Shikigami, though. They're, like, prioritizing keeping this Daredevil saved. It does mean that Heretics now are invited for the first time to be able to ban out this Invisible Woman, and will joyfully do so. Not just that, but also pick themselves up one-sided Invisible Woman if they decide to lock this through. So Shikigami, they might see an opportunity to take one-sided Daredevil here.
Might be a good chance for them, but Heretics, if they want to sort of play towards a triple strategist, you have 2 of the strongest already part of your roster, and you kind of need to get rid of the third because Mantis still hasn't been banned out at this point. That's what they're looking towards. But it does mean, because of this, there is a one-sided Loki on the side for Shikigami.
Yeah, there is a one-sided Loki, and Shikigami will be very happy to be able to play that since they're going to be starting on defense first. So Name, banned off of the Invisible Woman, will be fielding the Cloak and Dagger instead, as Leolaz gets the Elsa once more. Keep on Kaya too. Like, if he actually goes for this Venom, we could well see Team Heretics try and go for something like that White Fox to be able to deal with the dive coming on through, especially since Frost Mountain, he's thinking about it. He's going for that Daredevil, which means that absolutely Heretics are going to have to put counter dive measures in play, or they're constantly going to have their team's attention split 2 ways. 1, trying to just push the objective itself, and 2, having to keep their backline actually up to sustain the rest of the team.
And one thing that we did see brilliant glimmers from Shikigami in that last map on their defensive side, which is where they're starting on Yggdrasil, is defensive positions. And certainly when you look at like Lindstrom, there's a lot of experience being a substitute play for Virtus Pro way back when. Him and Name positioned themselves brilliantly, and the rest of the team knows when to flock to them, when to disperse, when to try to make sure that some of these like group plays, for example, can't come out. It is going to be on the defense though. Isidore is the one with Groot in hand, and Enzo, seeing that there's going to be a lot of walls, switching over to the Emma.
Yeah, Frost Mountain just like using the close proximity to Heretics' spawn, reading out what exactly they're playing. Tanuki, though, because Shikigami went for the ban onto the Mantis late for Heretics, does still have access to the Man Without Fear, and now we see the adjustment. Yeah, both Daredevils rotating to meet the other, so that we get the stalemate coming on through. Oh, hello, fancy meeting you here, but that means that Kaya just gets to go in, hit the backline, disrupt, doesn't stay in too long, doesn't want to get stunned out by that Phoenix, and potentially punished.
Look at the outlines of the Daredevils. They're both just stood there, just getting this information and then eventually going for the 1v1. It's the Spider-Man pointing meme, but there's like two walls in the way because they're sensing each other. But it's the first pick actually going away onto Kaya with all of that information. The Heretics are able to take a good fight, and this payload has pushed a long way already, and that's before Rogue actually pushes in to make sure that Shikigami. Kaya's switched over towards the straight. You have no time to go for a portal play here. That's done.
Yeah, no, this is for sure done. Enzo with the Emma Frost as well. Like, you've got so much good counter dive potential against the Venom, but you can also just hold your position on the objective. So if Shikigami want to just like use the Venom, it's going to be soft dive. They know that Kaya would be out, but this is Shikigami to a T, right? Into the portal we go, swapping to this range, not for a contest, but to just flip that map. You do have to be careful though, because as we said, Enzo on that Emma does just manage to absolutely mince the Doctor Strange with the Carbon Crush and that Diamond Form, but Leolaz is absolutely shredding Jean Grey. All the damage that this Elsa does. We said it would be a win condition for Shikigami, and off of the back of Name with the Terror Cape, applying the vulnerability, this Elsa's absolutely unleashed.
This idea has been in use from some of the players from Shikigami since they were on Al-Qadsiya, and it makes sense as to why. Lots of time on the bank for Heretics after such a quick first point take, but it's been bought out now. Strangling Prison is going to be used to try to pull some of the players from Heretics together on this attack, but it's Beetle that's cut all the way through. There's all of these characters just holding W and left click, and it's absolutely torn asunder from Beetle and Tanuki as they find the eliminations. Means that the payload's going to keep moving, and Shikigami want to try and regroup before these doorways are shut down from Heretics.
Well, that was the one-sided Royal Flush fight. That's why it was so short and so Heretics one-sided. But that does mean that Shikigami will have both Strategist Ultimates as well as the Apex Predator, and we're moving into one of the hardest aspects of Yggdrasil for these attacking teams to be able to complete the push. Enzo can try to open it up with the Sonic Seduction. Ideally, you're looking at Beetle being able to get into the back line and get the connection of Heartbreaker onto either Name or Lindstrom, so they don't have the Strategist Ultimates and the CC immunity it would grant them to be able to ignore this Emma ultimate. Speaking about ignoring, Oasis might as well be on holiday. He's just playing all the way from the back. No one from Shikigami can get on top of him. Lindstrom did get the copy off onto Name with that Eternal Bond from the God of Mischief, so dodges the CC of the Sonic Seduction, and Shikigami will hold that position, but no eliminations off of the back of it. Heretics more than happy to bait one, and now just have to worry about the other Eternal Bond standing in the way of eliminations off of Ensong or Let the Devil Out.
Have to be a little bit of a hot step for Kaya, leaping in, just try and pull some of the attention away, but it's a brutal fight. It's a great Terror Cape, actually, that does allow Isidore to go and get the pick in the end. Now you've got the Eternal Bond, you've got the Ensong being used from Naga that's trying to reset himself, make sure that he's up to full HP before Leolus takes down some more of the frontline characters. Frost Mountain actually cleaned up house in this engagement, and Shikigami hold on.
Oh yeah, Name has been on absolute fire with these Terror Capes, and Heretics don't really have a good way of being able to block it, right? You would be looking for a shield, but Enzo with the Emma is the only one who can really do it, as opposed to something like the Strange that's a little bit more consistent, as Frost Mountain, again, close up hold on the choke, scouting out Heretics' rotation. They know that they're going to be closing up to that Gambit ult. Oasis also swapping to the Invis to try and have the counter peel coming on through from that dive. Lovely Wolverine grab from Tanuki, sets up the elimination onto Frost Mountain, but everyone was baited into a hallway, having to worry about the Elsa ultimate.
where did it go? Everybody was lined up. It didn't seem to connect onto anybody in the end. So a big ultimate use from Shikigami without too much value either for eliminations or creating a little bit of space. That space is very much being closed up from Team Heretics. They're actually forced to use the Eternal Bond on the other side. Shikigami trying to create some semblance of area to work around, and it was Lindstrom that went for the copy to try and bring out another one in the end. Now the Eternal Bond is going to springboard a little bit more action as Last Stand is going to be used from Tanuki. This fight is just backwards and forwards. We're watching Enzo lean forward. Oh no, we need the peel. Run back. Okay, now we can move forward. Eternal Bond still looming on the ground, but with all of that gone, there's the Royal Flush that's one-sided, about to cut away through Shikigami's defense if the door is at least open from the group.
Yusuke just slams that shit like, nope, you can't come here. You might be able to purify my ultimate, but you can't get past the walls. And that means that Shikigami only now lose one of their players and can still put together a regroup. Lindstrom, Name both taking a little bit of damage. Leilas has been able to find the Phoenix, but with the Rogue's presence up on the high ground, as well as the Sonic Seduction coming on through from Enzo, they're dealing with the stall one by one. And Shikigami just did not have an ultimate to be able to stabilize the hold around.
It's a rough old fight in the end, but at least Shikigami bought a good amount of time. 90 seconds added on, which means that they're just above 2 minutes to work on this last attacking point. We've seen some teams finish out here. We've seen some teams actually lose the map because they weren't able to push up far enough. Heretics don't want to make that mistake, kind of like they did against Na'Vi, where they were full held on this map, which was their choice. At least a little bit better on their attacking side, and a lot of ultimates to maybe finish out here on Yggdrasil.
Yeah, 2 minutes almost in the bank. Kai is going to be looking really at trying to hit the backline and slow out this objective so that Shikigami can get a few more fights, but Heretics are just so ready to deal with this dive. Down goes Frost Mountain, grabbed it by Tanuki into the follow-up from the rest of the team. Beetle with the Heartbreaker too is pushing the rest of Shikigami's players back so they can't try and just go stall on the point itself. Split apart, they haven't lost anyone else, and it's just going to be a bunker up stack, wait for you to have a strategist ultimate before you try to make your next move. But Heretics, they're just catching onto the Venom instead. Kai has been scouted out so far away from the rest of Shikigami's team, there's no opportunity for him to get out.
Yeah, they're just doing it with their normal, not specialized. The Daredevil isn't in the server anymore, at least on the side of Heretics. Naga finds a pick onto Frost Mountain, and the Strangling Prison actually interrupted from Isido. A great catch-up from Tanuki, leaping in to be the savior. Turtle Bond has to be copied and used up from Lindstrom to provide something to play around. There's the Apex Predator coming through to at least find one pick, and you saw the Invisible Boundary tried to be used to help Beetle, but it was just a little bit late. Might not matter, however, as there's still eliminations coming into favor for Heretics. Naga's been tremendous back playing on the duelist role. A leaping from Enzo is a last-ditch attempt to take out Leilas, and it does connect. Follow through matching as well. Wolverine Last Stand catching up the Loki into the sky. He's not able to get away out of this one, and now the Galactic Legend, seeing if it could go up and get this tenacity of the Wolverine, eventually takes him out, but a lot of those bullets in the pistol from Frost Mountain used, and pretty much all of the time back gone from Team Heretics. They're going to have to go for an overtime fight here.
What a swap from Name. Comes back on the Jeff to be able to heal from the spawn door as Tanuki swaps off of the Wolverine onto the Strange, having to portal the team in. Enzo's on the Penny Parker. You're just looking to try to have some of those spider grabs coming on through to set up a CEC. Swaps back onto that Emma, but we can see just Name entirely split off from the rest of the fight. Heretics have no way of being able to get on top of this Jeff, which means that all of that healing is going to be there. That's just not available for Team Heretics. Shikigami just full stack outside of the portal, and Heretics have no way of being able to break through. It looked like it could be a full push, but with some very smart swaps on third, Shikigami are able to staunch out Heretics' position and manage to complete the hold.
Even the thing right at the end as well, you know, that they're going to go for a portal play. You can see street charge in, no mobility abilities that can really come through and touch if it was a bit further away. Outside of that, you just haymaker the portal and make it really hard. Shikigami, looking back at that a little bit, maybe on that first point defense, are going, we should have done a little bit better there in the end, considering that Team Heretics were like full held there before by other teams. But it was a good hold on second to just buy a bit more time, and then third, a respectable place for that payload to stop. The problem, however, is being able to finish out the map. Heretics chose it. You would imagine that they know how to defend it too.
Yeah, I think if you're Shikigami as well, you're looking at Lindstrom and trying to work out how often am I going to be in a position to see Alex to be able to get this copy onto the Gambit. It's probably not going to be a lot because Heretics, they've got the defensive position, so now they can keep their backline fully out of line of sight from the Loki. So for Shikigami, it's all about this dive. They're probably going to lose the Gambit ult. Although Heretics, they're running both the Emma and the Cap, so they've given up the Rogue, they've given up the Hearts as one for the stall-out potential of Beetle. Captain America, much more sustainability, much brawlier as well to be able to just continue putting the pressure on the backline and stalling out the objective for as long as possible.
Are we about to see Tanuki and Frost Mountain, like, go again for this stare-off in the corner? Like, meet me at this position at 5 p.m. CEST. Yeah, you can sort of see them sort of looking at each other, seeing if they want to go in for the dive. With a bit more help this time from Beetle, I think, is about to leap in off the back of where the Daredevil is playing from. But watching it from Oasis' perspective, not quite as far away as the Jeff with the just no drop-off healing. He's still able to get a good amount of info, make sure that Shikigami can't go through these flanks. Mostly it's just going to be this group on the point from Isidore to try to bully their way forward.
Oh, there's the dive coming on through. Frost Mountain's been able to coordinate, but the Carbon Crush with that Emma Diamond form sets up the elimination onto Daredevil, but also means that your position's static for Laylas to be able to shoot through. Terror Cape comes on through from Name. Heretics, they're already actually swapping the Emma onto this range to try to TP back into this fight, as they're just looking to try and stall out as much time as they possibly can. Breaking around this first corner is very problematic unless you're playing something like a Venom, where you just wall jump in and smack down onto that backline. So much follow-up damage.
Akai will take the trade, especially because it took so much of the focus away from the objective from Heretics. Portal play actually going in from the other side. Enzo was playing on the defense, trying to get the strategist back quick, so bit of a reverse play in the end, but are you going to be able to actually touch the objective at this point? Only just. There's not much place or time to go, so Heretics don't really have too much of a space to work with. But if this ends up working out, that was a heck of a play for Enzo. The fact that the elimination feed is filling up with the blue of Shikigami, however, makes me feel like it was a bit of a last-ditch attempt, and it's going to be another fast first take.
Yeah, I mean, Lindstrom was just out of Heretics' line of sight. They could not be able to put pressure on the Loki. Lindstrom's got regeneration domain, so if your players drop low when you have to reload, it's okay. You won't lose someone. No risk of trades, and also full charge of God of Mischief to try and match up to Alex when Heretics try to get aggressive with this Raging Roll Flush to retake some of the space that Shikigami have been able to recruit. You're still going to be looking at the Strangling Prison too. Like, you don't want to use it first. If you do, Alex will just cast the ultimate and purify everyone who got grabbed.
Yeah, Tanuki switching away from the Daredevil over towards the Wolverine, see if he can feral leap some of these players out of position. Here's the copy. He managed to get the Gambit on the other side, you're right. So it's a Royal Flush copied in from Lindstrom. It's going to be mirrored on the other side from Alex, thinking, hey, that was mine, give it back. Kaya finds the first pick onto Tanuki, however, and immediately Heretics, using a big ultimate, Moxie, have had to rescind so much space.
Big play from Eastor too. Like, Lindstrom getting the copy forces Alex to have to reciprocate, and then Eastor comes through with the Strangling Prison after it's been cast to not have the Purify. Heretics do have stall potential. Apex Predator from Laylas tries to actually grab them off of the high ground because, again, Frost Mountain's on the Daredevil. You've literally got wall hacks to be able to see when they're rotating and where, catching them unawares with that Elsa ultimate as Heretics try and take Sanctuary inside the invisible boundary. Shikigami will wait for it to be down, coming back with the Eternal Bond, but they've lost the Daredevil, which is a lot of information of understanding where Heretics will play from. Closer respawns, Freedom Charge, and not enough elimination so far to sweep out this fight, but a huge pick from Lindstrom onto Beetle means that Heretics lose a lot of sustainability. Last Stand is good from Tanuki, though, picks up both Name and Isidore, but Frost Mountain tries to equalize, goes through with the Let the Devil Out, and it looks like Heretics might be on the way out of this hold.
Yeah, masters of the melee. It's Tanuki that found two great pickups to take the fight off of the objective, but all it did was create some space for Frost Mountain. Now it's Enzo that has to come in and be the hero, the savior, leaping into victory. Kind of gets caught on the wall, but he does have the strategist there to help him. Very key picks in the end from Heretics there, but it's still 2.5 minutes that they have to hold on to this defense. It's going to shuffle back a little bit, but those goats are going to be stuck pretty much just shy of the second checkpoint. So Shikigami just building up the ultimates, ready to go again.
Putting all of the pressure now onto Alex as well. You've got the Star-Lord ultimate. Shikigami will be ult tracking the Gambit. They get the Star-Lord. They don't care if the Gambit ultimate comes on through now. They can just pile all of the pressure in, deal all of the poke damage. Even if Alex gets the ult, it's not going to be there with the Galactic Legend for a little bit of time. There's the Gambit ult cast. Shikigami trying to disengage out of it. Kaya catches Oasis. Leolas too gets the hit onto Enzo as Lindstrom does not get the opportunity to capture that Gambit ultimate, but does copy the CDs. Like you said, Eternal Bond allows Shikigami to hold that position. Strangling Prison forces Beetle's position to be static, so no additional armor for the rest of Heretics team. The Glartrox on the wall though, but Leolas in neutral is still getting all of the eliminations. Enzo's coming back on the Strange. That allows the start to come through, but Loki's in the lobby, and Regeneration Domain is the best trick in the God of Mischief's arsenal.
The Glartrox in the wall can't hurt you. At least that's what my therapist was saying, but I'm not too sure about it now. It's the Feast of the Abyss now from Kaya that just wants to eke this 5 meters forward, but Tanuki's built up another last stand, and everybody's grouped up together. He gets the pick onto Frost Mountain, and he's got these strategists backed up into a corner, screaming for dear life. Shikigami, maybe there's enough space to actually get onto this objective and push it past, but they have all of these plays from Heretics looming and fighting. Eternal Bond's coming out again to just bring this down into the blue of Shikigami. Terracape's flying around, and there's so much fear in the server, you could almost smell it. Leolas, it's like a fish to water trying to find up these picks and these eliminations, but Heretics are so good at keeping these fights going. They haven't heard a bell, but they have heard the second checkpoint has been hit. 2 minutes left for Shikigami.
And welcome to why we call the last fight on second Idrisil path the ult dump fight for the attack team, because that's pretty much the only way that you can actually beat the stall potential from the defense side. Name just using the Eternal Bond, even down 2 players, understanding we have the sustainability, we've got the Terror Capes for the vulnerability, and we have Leolas on the Elsa, so this is still winnable. As Beetle now on the Captain America goes for that stall out. Enzo too swapping onto that Venom, wanting to just try and drain as much time and ultimates on the side of Shikigami, who are going to be starting to get a little bit desperate. They had such a healthy time bank when they rolled into second. Now they have about a minute left, and they know that they have to deal with a true fight win on the side of Heretics if they let them regroup, because Alex has that Gambit ultimate, and it's all up to Lindstrom. If he can get the copy off onto Alex to be able to match this, or if he gets the Eternal Bond replication from Nami, Shikigami can potentially hold that position.
Eternal Bond, I think, is what he was able to grab onto. Cloak and Dagger, it's the Terror Capes that fly out as well. So Lindstrom leaping in. Leolas also with the Apex Predator, not pulling anybody out of position. There's that second Terror Cape that's going to come through. Everybody at Heretics covered in purple, hoping that they're able to try and cleanse their way into holding on to this fight. There's the leaping that's going to pull his crew out of position. He's not going to be too long for this world. Tanuki's absolutely fried him. So now Heretics have something to stand on with this defense. 45 seconds left for a portal play. I'd imagine for Shikigami, if they're going to be given some space. You even have the Daredevil sort of switching around from Frost Mountain to be able to touch, but he's got the Venom in behind him and a bit more peel on the other side as Enzo and Kaya are going to be having their own little hallway battle. Seeing now this defense, Heretics holding on a little bit longer for Shikigami. No ultimates that are really built up with. You have to look at Name to be that Eternal Bond to actually find the way through.
Oh, but you lose Lindstrom. No regeneration domain to try to stretch the Eternal Bond against both the sustain of the Freedom Charge and the Fate of both worlds. And like Heretics, they're just gonna hold right up close to Shikigami's side. We're getting the Strange Teleport coming on through from Lindstrom. Beetle scouts it out. Everyone from Heretics adjusts their position in anticipation of that portal. Frost Mountain lives long enough to hit the OT, so the Strange Portal could potentially come through, but no, it looks like it got cancelled out. Leolas has to just try to come through from main instead, but Shikigami just don't get the opportunity to use it, and Heretics complete the hold.
A 4-meter distance, but those small gaps become insane canyons when you're playing up against top teams like Heretics. Their map choice going their way, and as we were shouting out Kaya on the Venom, Enzo goes, "Remember me," a performance of the ages, and Shikigami now having map choice, have the whole pool of maps resetting so long as we haven't gone there before in this series.
It's just the tale of Yggdrasil path, isn't it? You come in with, what, 4 minutes on second, and you see it dwindle away into almost nothingness as you have to burn your whole ultimate economy, so you lose the snowball potential headed into third. One fight win is all you need on the defense to be able to reestablish that hold, that position, and when you have 2 dive vanguards who can apply pressure both onto the front line or potentially the back line, Shikigami just gets split so many different ways that they have to try and stop all of that incoming aggression. They run out of time, they're not able to build up those ultimates and make a good go of any fight of third.
Layerless with the Elsa, 32k damage, 42 and 5, but still on the losing side. Got to say, Tanuki did a lot with pulling those fights in, but we'll see where the series is going to go because it's been an absolute doozy so far after this break.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
The hunt is on. 1,000 gods!
A solid matchup between these two teams, coming down to, as Ryan said, just 4 meters between these two teams. It was that close. But Heretics, I'm going to go against their name here for a second. I'm just going to pile some praise onto them with a spectacular defense, being able to isolate people exactly when needed with that Wolverine. And it looks like, Ryan, we've just found our next map. We're heading to Spider Islands.
That's brave. We sort of already mentioned it. Team Heretics very good on Convoy, and this was a map choice for Shikigami right at the end of that final best of 5 in the upper bracket of playoffs. But it did not go their way. It went the distance, quite literally, like when it came to the map, but it was Heretics that came out on top. So it might be the definition of insanity, going for the same picks and hoping for a different outcome. But that kind of worked for Heretics. They did lose on Yggdrasil and were able to sort of win it back. This is just a case of both these teams trading wins on either side. So maybe, just maybe, this goes the way of Shikigami.
But Moxie, this is a convoy map. We were talking in the break a little bit about the success rate of Heretics when it comes to convoy.
Yeah, but you found a lot of success with your Torch Ultron Angela composition on your earlier convergence, and as Ryan said, we did get to see this previously go the distance in terms of Spider Island's Heretics versus Shikigami, and they did start their first point defense on that Ultron composition, so I would expect to see a run back of it here.
Using those buildings as a little bit of cover to siege down that first point where you wrap around with Spider Zero. It's a tough one to push on into. We'll have to see if they're able to break that main hold. So far, it looks like Team Heretics will be starting on defense, as Shikigami have chosen to play a little bit aggressive to start us off here to try and break that hold. But so far, draft-wise, going back and forth each time. As usual, I keep checking in after every game. Are we happy with the one team getting Gambit and one team getting Elsa so far? Let's start with Moxie.
I mean, we've seen that Heretics can beat the Elsa. We've also seen that Shikigami do run into problems with the one-sided Gambit. Like, it forces your ultimate rotation to be very, very different when you understand that, like, one team will have Gambit, and not only do you have to worry about them potentially overwhelming you very quickly with just the speed of the Raging Rod Flush, you also have to worry about the one-sided ultimate acceleration gain off of the back of it, too.
Ryan, I will ask you the same question. Are you happy? Would you like to see some adjustments as we head into the game?
I'm happy. I like there being conflicting identities for both teams, but I am curious on like the Daredevil Protect from Shikigami. Like Wolverine is finding a lot of impact. Are they going to be banned out? Where are these drafts going to differentiate? We'll start with the obvious parts, I suppose, of it. Like, we're expecting with these kind of levels of teams, like a phase 1 draft, Moxie, it tends to be the same. That looks different, no? That looks very different. It's an Elsa ban for Team Heretics, a team that said that, Rad said it as well, that it's NA propaganda to be banning out this character first. We might see a Gambit v Gambit.
Gambit mirror. Yeah, likely. Loki ban. Invisible Woman ban. Oh, no, Loki ban. Yeah, I think like Heretics, as they're sort of like trying to work out what exactly Shikigami would play for. The Invisible Woman's really, really strong. With like the Torch Ultron, Loki loses out a little bit of value given how hard it is to actually heal flyers with an AoE projectile primary. You can sort of get around it by healing the buildings around you and the splash, but oh yeah, this is very interesting. Okay, Heretics go for one-sided Invisible Woman. Shikigami thought about going for one-sided Gambit. There's one more tile of ban before Heretics get a save, so it could be the Gambit ban here on the side of Shikigami, but that does allow something like the Mantis to slip through.
Yeah, I think it is. Heretics locking in a one-sided Invisible Woman and then a Loki ban here. Very odd. And they're still not banning out the Gambit. The Shikigami are just like, have it. Have it. Like, we are more than willing to go up against you in a Gambit off if we need to. And it's the fact that like, Heretics have got the Invisible Woman, something that Fire Strays was doing and Shikigami have intimate experience against, because that was pretty much the main focus for them. The Elsa has been banned out. They weren't Gambit lovers. They wanted to go for the Invisible Woman just to give themselves something concrete to build around with triple strategists. Ooh. And instead of protecting the Gambit, they're going to protect the Wolverine. This is a very different draft.
Well, Tanuki was getting so much work done right on Yggdrasil, cancelling the Strange TP, grabbing the Groot. If Shikigami want to run like the Groot or even the Venom, you have that Wolverine who can play so aggressive against your vanguards, but also play a little bit more passive towards your backline. Just wait for the other side to make that first move and grab them out when they show up. As we've got a Mantis ban now coming on through from the side of Shikigami, so still no Gambit. I feel like for both teams, they're like, okay, we both have Gambit. As long as no one gets one-sided Loki to have 2 casts of it, we're good with just taking the coin flip.
That's an interesting perspective, and a Deadpool Vanguard means that, like, that's going to be, at the very least, one-sided. So here it's like, do you ban out the Mantis to keep it honest, to make sure that there's not going to be that in play? Or are you going to go for the Rogue to make sure that that team-up doesn't work? It's sort of expected, like, Vanguards, triple Vanguards, potentially making it a bit more meatier. Wanted to make sure that that Gambit doesn't have as much stock now that it is protected. They can also run it themselves, so that is a one-sided Rogue in favor of Heretics.
Yeah, so it's not quite like that same 50-50 coin flip that it would have been. In terms of the ultimate, yes, absolutely. Both teams having Raging Royal Flush, you can potentially play for the mirror, or you can sort of just like lose the fight and then come back into the next one with your own one-sided Gambit ultimate to secure that victory. But since we're going to be seeing one-sided Rogue, that's like one-sided Hearts 1 coming on through from your Vanguard line, you also have to worry about Heartbreaker. Shikigami, though, they did manage to get the Star-Lord through, so you're still going to be able to have Frost Mountain pair alongside that Gambit ultimate and really put a lot of pressure onto Heretics' back line. We talked about, you know, triple Vanguard, some of the other reasons why Invisible Woman is so strong, because you're fighting in such bottlenecked positions on Spider Islands, especially this first one where everyone just stacks around that first corner, try and get as much stall off as you possibly can. But what we actually have from the side of Heretics, it's not triple Vanguard, it's triple Strategist. Alex, because you got the Vanguard Deadpool banned out against you, is going to be swapping onto the Strategist Deadpool instead.
He did this against Na'Vi. It was on Hell's Heaven before and said that, you know, obviously the matchup that you're going to have with the Jeff Oasis has been exclusively over on the Landshark. You got the team up that can work wonders there. And with the picks with like Hulk, it's just too much mitigation and a very quick pick onto Isidore. Shikigami also having access. It's Nami that's going to be picking up the Mantis to try to make this a triple strategist line. Kaya switching away from the one-sided Deadpool Vanguard over towards the Thing. Layerless on Doctor Strange and then Isidore on Hulk. Big changes that Shikigami want to go for a little bit more of a whole W
Pain
approach.
Brothers.
Yeah, they just really want to make this a sloppy fight on the point as both teams are taking chunks out of each other.
No, it literally is Pain Brothers. The team up is coming on through from the side of Shikigami. They've also got the Hulk bubbles to be able to match the Unbreakable Guard, but what they don't have is the Invisible Woman to match the side of Team Heretics because it got banned out. And you're already 80% to the first Invisible Boundary within the first fight. You can see how much healing this is outputting with the amount of people stacked up and taking damage at the same time. Fastball Special yet again comes on through from Tanuki. No grab though. Good guard coming on through on the side of Isidore. Yancey street shots too, making it hard for Heretics to just kite out, but they're okay without kiting out. They'll just drop Invisible Boundary and hold their position. Shikigami baiting that one though, can come on through with one-sided Raging Royal Flush. Everyone from Heretics tries to get away from it, utilizing Eye of Agamotto as a way of stopping Shikigami taking momentum, and it's just brawl for brawl as Oasis makes off with 3 over the side of the map.
Oh, and it's Daredevil, Strange, and Hulk. It's a big meal that he's just taken towards the bottom of Spider Islands off of the Abyss. But a brutal fight with stuns from Eye of Agamotto from Beetle and then the clobbering time from Kaya. Everybody bundled up in a room, but this objective has barely moved on this attack inside of Shikigami. They chose this map. It went poorly against Heretics last time, and they're struggling to get their way past this first corner.
Oh, the fastball special. You have to be so worried about it. Still, your backline is taking damage at the moment. 70% almost again to this next Invisible Boundary as Tanuki gets another grab, this time onto Frost Mountain. The follow-ups there from the rest of the team. Shikigami lose the Daredevil and the information, and Tanuki just continues hounding Shikigami's players down. At this point, you're huddling in spawn. You're so scared about where this Wolverine's going to show up from.
It's a leap down from Tanuki. Ends up seeing if he can go for the fastball play again soon, as it is going to be the shields going to just give them a little bit of respite, but only for a second before Kaya starts swinging again. You've got some more support and a Terror Cape actually coming through for sustenance from Nami, an Eternal Bond to actually try and cut through this bouncer composition from Heretics. Now they're starting to drop, now they're starting to fall, but you have to imagine that the portal play is going to mean that these big burly members of Heretics are going to be very soon back on that objective.
Yeah, those Shikigami, they will have Raging Royal Flush coming on through from the side of Lindstrom, but like you said, Beetle can set up that strange TP. Doesn't look like they're going for it just yet, though. They're going to walk out of main instead. Invisible Boundary, it's Jeff. Oasis could come through with a huge eat since Isto's off of the Hulk. No Unbreakable Guards to be able to stop the Jeff eat. Isto's just going to wrap all the way around the back, use the ban hammer to put the pressure onto the backline. Even just holds the ult, trying to just take the Jeff down the traditional way. Huge clobbering time from Kaya, leads into the Terror Cape vulnerability, and Heretics fall before they get the opportunity to use the Invisible Boundary and stop Shikigami from picking up first point. A huge turnaround fight that honestly, Shikigami needed. They had to get a fast fight win to make up for the amount of time that they lost just getting through spawn.
Oh, but it's not done yet. Team Heretics might be giving Shikigami a taste of their own medicine with an early defensive portal play. These bodies back on the point might send Shikigami scrambling. You have a Let the Devil Out and your Banhammer available for Isidore that does get stunned out for a second. Fastball trying to cut through. Tanuki doesn't get the connection. He leaps his way back, but he has found the Deadpool over on the corner of the map. Isidore's going to throw out the Banhammer beforehand, and it's Jeff is now going to be used mostly to just get out of harm's way whilst he was the main focus. Doesn't last for long, however, as Let the Devil Out is going to be used from Frost Mountain. He gets fully stunned out, though, as the last time was used. Eye of Agamotto going to follow from Beetle. Doesn't get the connection, but they still lose one of the duelists on the side of Shikigami from the Gamma Burst afterwards. Heretics have done well, considering that it was a point lost for them. They've immediately clambered on the other side of this gate.
Oh, here comes the fastball again. Clobbering time from Kaya, though. Heretics, by stacking up, they are all just getting stunned out by this thing. And Layla's going for that Psylocke too, has a little bit more map monopoly space to try and split apart some of Heretics' team going forward, scouting out where exactly Heretics will be just walking out from, and then relaying the rest of that information to Shikigami so that they know when do you have to worry about potentially that fastball special coming on through. But the answer is you don't. Tanuki swaps instead to the Daredevil to match Frost Mountain. We've got the Daredevil mirror yet again. Enzo feeling aggressive can just go on to the point because he's got the World Breaker. If all else fails and his health bar starts to tank, there's the Hulk ultimate. Shikigami going to have to back on up, but Beetle on the split approach on the left side's already splitting the team, and Shikigami just giving up
nice
all
hit
of the space. It took so much just to be able to break through this first choke. With less than a minute left, they find themselves right where they started.
Retreat, run away was the call that came out from Shikigami, but now they're pretty much held right by their spawn doors. Enzo's not afraid to make his presence known, and Beetle, looking at the fact that there's not many barriers that are going to be in the way, means that an Eye of Agamotto, or even the Maelstroms themselves with that team up with Invisible Woman, are going to find a lot of value, especially when everybody's grouped up. That Terror Cape, though, is pretty much fish in a barrel approach, but there's not going to be any follow-up on the side that it comes from. Van Hammer now seeing if Isidore can find some space, and look at Layla and the rest of the team charge their way in. Dance the Butterfly is going to try to carve through this back line, but you have got the ultimate used on the other side from Alex. This sustain is just enough to keep everybody going, and the Invisible Boundary is about to be up from Naga at the same time as well. But there it is, the slam down as well. The clobbering time off of the Royal Flush means that as the ultimate just came online, they were sent right back, and they're given one extra fight potentially before the second checkpoint.
One more fight, overtime and play, Invisible Boundary. But you have to worry about Eternal Bond being able to pull ahead in terms of sustainability and that vulnerability to still find picks through. Frost Mountain opens up with the ultimate, forces Invisible Boundary pretty much off of the objective, and that's Name's cue. Come out with the Eternal Bond, have the latest sustainability, have that Terror Cape too. Beetle tries to come and prove the Eye of Agamotto, but Name's able to fade it out with the Dark Teleportation, and Shikigami have the lead in this fight. Oasis might be able to turn it. It's Jeff comes on out. Can you get enough of these players off of the point to be able to complete the hold? Frost Mountain's down. Alex is earthbound, but he's still firing away, shredding out these Vanguards. The Heretics just don't have the damage.
It's hit second, so this fight is a little bit more problematic for Heretics. They want to try and reset as fast as possible, and it's echoing similar to the last time that these two teams played, where it got to this part of the map. It's been an absolute brawl. Kai's been listening to Layalis's villain playlist when it comes to swinging those fists around. He's found so much value, has another clobbering time pretty much looming, but you have to imagine that Isidore's going to be the one that looks for the target. He's got that Banhammer. Who's he going to want to try and fight? The leaping is good, waiting for these little barriers to drop before the fight comes in, as Dance of the Butterflies is going to pick off more targets. The Vanguard's holding on to their ultimates. It was the duelists that did the Lord's work there, as Frost Mountain is going to be holding and grabbing onto the Devil Out very shortly. Team Heretics forced to reset again fast. Shikigami looking to finish out the map.
They could do as well. One-sided Gambit ult. If you can overwhelm the backline before Invisible Boundaries bolt up, this is absolutely doable for the side of Shikigami. Nami too, trying to just battery up to that next Eternal Bond to be able to beat out the boundary, but Heretics, they've got the primary pierce. They'll have the Invisible Boundary. They've already lost Beetle! They've already lost their whole back line! Raging Roll Flush, Let the Devil Out, and Clobbering Time just become an absolute Frankenstein's monster of too much damage for Heretics' triple strat line to heal.
Holding W with the Royal Flush becomes punching your keyboard when the Thing and Daredevil can just be sent catapulting at Heretics' backline. Shikigami finishing out the map, considering that they were stuck on first, floundering their way out of that first checkpoint. It's going to feel pretty damn good for them right now. Heretics need to try and match it to go for these overtime pushes, which is only going to suit Shikigami with an OT Deadpool Vanguard. I guess the other side of it, though, is that Heretics are going to have access to the strategist version with Alex, and that has found a good amount of success.
Yeah, but Shikigami, like, they've got the torch. We can already see it in the lobby. Not only do they have the torch, but they also have both the Mantis and the Ultron and the Gambit. So, not a lot of, like, burst healing in comparison to something like an Invisible Woman or a Luna Snow or a Cloak and Dagger based triple strategist line. But what you do have is a lot of damage potential and very fast generating ultimate cycles. Plus, like, if you're Team Heretics, who do you really run on to? I think, like, Heretics, they're going to have to play a little bit more reactive as opposed to proactive. Like, you can try to go for the fastball, but ideally you're looking at Kaya just trying to dive in on that Venom, create space, deal with the Vanguard, then deal with the Flyers, because all of Shikigami, these are multiple moving parts that form one large vehicle at the end of the day. Your Vanguards create the space and draw the attention off of your Flyers, who are much more fragile.
Shifting gears, so Shikigami really need to do their MOT. I think only Brits are going to understand that, but it's basically making sure that these wheels are working and not about to fall off, as this could be their last chance in preseason if they don't get everything together. Heretics, looking at the composition of Shikigami, trying to play on this defense, and it's pretty much trying to keep it as close to what they wanted as they can. Tanuki's still over on that Wolverine, looking for those fastballs to take people out the sky, and Naga probably looking for those force physics to see if Kaya oversteps his mark. He could be the first elimination against this defense, and it could send the whole thing packing. But as of right now, it is just trading in the neutral, building up ultimates, and Tanuki's falling off the map for the 4th time today.
Oh, and that's the green light. No Wolverine, no additional pressure on the front line when you decide to step up and just brawl through in the close quarters. He still even gets to hold on to the banhammer too, which will be felt by the strategists on the side of Team Heretic, since no invisible boundary built up just yet. As Shikigami, they just continue like giving their space. They're playing the poke with their Flyers, but they're not brawling on the front line. So what it's actually doing is really limiting the amount of heal output that both the Jeff and the Invisible Woman can do. There's the Wolverine grab, setting up for a pick onto a Vanguard, but Shikigami just heal through it. Oasis trying to get the amount of damage and heals finally takes Kaya down, and Heretics, they get the ball moving.
Everything is starting to shift forward, and this is before any other ultimates are built up. It is just the Deadpool strategist version that's brought theirs out as its Jeff has been built up. Look at this push, though. Shikigami have been forced all the way back. Belalis might be able to leap out similar to Central Park with the Rage of Ultron to allow a dive in a fight here. It's very close, though. Somebody's touching to make sure that this doesn't eke over towards the other side. And there he is, Leolis, the absolute hero from the sky. The villain era is over, and Leolis has actually found a perfect amount of space against Heretics. It's just 2 minutes to go.
But that was both Gambit and Ultron ult. So now for Shikigami, you have to force Invisible Boundary before Heretics can get onto the objective. It's so close to that checkpoint and getting the additional time. I think they're scouting out. Yeah, Beetle's just going to go for a strange TP. Name is going to be the target. Has to use the Soul Resurgence just to try to run away. But unfortunately, that Mantis is going so low. Gets grabbed out by Tanuki's last stand. Also catches onto Lindstrom. Leolas trades onto the Invisible Woman, though. So Heretics flying without the Invisible Boundary. Still potentially fragile in this fight.
Nami's thinking, what do you mean? What you said screw me for? He got jumped up with a portal, solo Eye of Agamotto, and then solo left-handed. Frost Mountain's also been spat off of the map as Heretics are looking to get to this first checkpoint in the end. Shikigami dropping intermittently means that there's no way to group up, but the Banhammer's been built up from a Seedor, trying to stall this out and keep this fight going, at least for a short period of time. Might be enough to try and fight this in the end, but you lose Lindstrom. Nowhere near having the Royal Flush, but you have another portal in the Invisible Boundaries now being forced out as the defense from Shikigami somehow, someway have managed to keep this going. Frost Mountain let the devil out potentially. There it is. It's going to come out and get the full fury. The Wrath is going to go onto Oasis on this Jeff. Pretty much unkillable, but he's going to get dove on instead onto Naga. Now Worldbreaker from Enzo is going to be forced out, and Shikigami look to be turning this fight around. All of the strategists going down as Frost Mountain through the back of the portal, keeping this down. So Heretics, 20 seconds left. They've already used the portal. People have to try and dive in for this final fight.
I mean, Tanuki is going to have that last stand, but yeah, you're staggering out Enzo on this puny banner form. Beetle comes back on the Venom to be able to swing and touch. You've got the Starlord for the iframes and the speed of movement, but Name has the id. Jeff, Kai's about to get Feast of the Abyss online too. It all comes down to this Wolverine ultimate. If Tanuki can grab multiple, this is winnable for the side of Heretics. Kaya makes the first move though, hits the back line, gets the anti-heal onto Oasis and takes out one major part of Heretics' sustainability. Alex is trying to use the ultimate, just sustain everyone, but without that invisible woman, it becomes so much harder to do so. Name with the hits. Jeff, Shikigami have one-sided sustain, but not the land shark because Enzo takes him down with the Angela, and we go back and forth.
Leilas.
You've got the Galactic Legend so close, but Leilas with the Dance of the Butterflies. Heretics still split players. Some of them chasing Shikigami, some of them on the objective itself, so they will lose players, bleeding out to that Psylocke ultimate. And just out of time, Tanuki's not able to get back onto the card, and Shikigami complete the hold. What looked like a full hold on the side of Heretics with that true brawl composition falls apart beneath the fists of the Thing, and with that distance, it's enough for Shikigami to close out Spider Islands.
And Shikigami backs to the wall consistently on that defense, able to fend off the offensive side of Heretics. The sort of composition showing it can be carbon copied over with the flying elements, but Frostmountain leaping through with the Let the Devil Out of the portal. Leilas going for the aggressive Rage of Ultron off of the back of Lindstrom, getting to play the Gambit, playing around it a lot more. Heretics have been brought again to a full 5-mapper in the losers bracket final. It also means that Na'Vi are going to be licking their lips, rubbing their hands, thinking that these teams are going to be knackered by the time that they actually play up against us. But there's just one map left to decide it, and it can't be Convoy for Heretics. It has to be Convergence or Domination.
I mean, we have to give Name flowers too. Like, Jeff the Landshark goes down a total of 3 times for all of those rounds. And like, when Shikigami, you were basically saying, how have Shikigami been able to sustain their position on this point with this defense? It's Name. Like, Heretics understand, okay, the Jeff is a problem. He's playing in small room. He's just healing everyone on the actual objective. So they try multiple times and split. Like, Hulk goes after him. Strange tries to use the shield to be able to block off some of the healing coming on through. But the fight continues and they get caught away from marking that position, and with that interdimensional toy box as well coming on out with the Deadpool team up, Name just has so much sustainability for the team to benefit from, and Shikigami complete the hold, taking us to map 5 after this break.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
If X is both of these teams, we have now seen the powers of X, but we are heading to the House of X, as we are going to be heading to Krakoa for our last map of this series. Unless, of course, well, we can't tie, it's domination, so that's a relief. We're not going to be heading to a map 6 in this best of 5. But Ryan, a domination map to close this out.
I mean, it's the best way to end it for both of these teams. Like, the long wins that have gone their way, certainly for Shikigami yesterday against, like, Fire Strays, it was a domination map to end it out. It was Celestial Husk, which we aren't going to see today, but it is one that you're going to have the full, like, roster of heroes on play here. Dive is very good, triple strategist. Even, like, Adam Warlock can still find some play in areas. Granted, both teams have very much moved away from it, but this is going to be the best way to end this.
And Moxie, we've seen that last game, we saw the Gambit being allowed through for both teams, and then not picked for a large chunk of the game from Heretics. They've really got their own style going on here.
Yeah, I mean, they played Brawl. Like, straight up simple. Yeah. That was a Brawl composition where you're just relying on the pierce abilities of the Chef and the Invisible Woman to just constantly have, like, if we're healing one person, we're healing the rest of the team, and we're damaging the enemy at the same time, which means that your ultimate economy is, like, always really, really strong going into those fights. And it worked for a really long time until Kaya just swapped onto the Thing and had an absolute field day being able to just swing those haymakers into a whole stack of 6 players.
It only takes one sometimes. You saw, just as you mentioned, Heretics held that for so long, and then suddenly Shikigami were just able to get into that room, and despite some fish crimes holding them back for at least a little bit, they were able to break on through and just do some insane work. But completely different beast here this time, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just like a floundering of communication as well for Heretics that don't want to lose in games like this. It's going to be more chaotic, where Shikigami, they've wanted to try and polish up their game. Now it is just going to be an absolute bloodbath on Krakoa.
That is very possible. This is the kind of matchup where you see teams like this that are so good at the brawl and the dive, so flexible and versatile in their compositions, and especially when it comes to those overtime fights, so effective at portal plays in particular for teams like Shikigami, and when those run out, swapping over to those fast characters to get back to the point in time, Moxie. This is the exact kind of matchup, as we said, it's kind of perfect for these two teams to end it out here.
Yeah, I mean, well, you wouldn't go to a Convergence, right? If you're Heretics, because you would potentially go to Shin Shibuya, which is full hold central, or you would go to Hall of Deshalia, where you would run into the same problems that you had on Central Park, Torch, Ultron potentially as well. I think that's going to be something like they have to be concerned about going into this one of Krakoa too, because as Ryan said, so much is really, really strong. Ultron Mantis is very, very good, especially on maps like Grove, where there's a lot of good like terrain for your Ultron to be able to hide around, but also if you win that first fight, you're just pretty much undiveable.
I've just got some word in my head from Professor Xavier. The Krakoan Council has convened, and it's a unanimous vote. We are going to be heading in to that map number 5 very shortly to decide who will be going on to play against Na'Vi in that grand final coming up later. This is going to be an intense one, and I'll just throw it in, a soft one for you. Just a couple words each. Start with Ryan. Who you got?
Let's go Shikigami. Let's either have me cast a curse it or just give us the upset of the century. And yeah, the council has convened and they have said, fight, as Heretics are scrambling for this final map. It's going to be a great one. I do wonder, Moxie, we saw it a little bit with Virtus Pro yesterday. They went for a wildcard draft going for specific players as hero pools. I wonder if either team's going to stick to their guns or we're going to about to get freaky.
Well, we're going back to Gambit one-sided, Elsa one-sided, as Heretics move away from allowing the Gambit coin flip to come on through. Shikigami will be trying to grab themselves one-sided Elsa, as this should be a Loki ban into Elsa save. But I mean, like, we sort of knew this, right? The moment that instant ban comes through. What we're looking at now is how does the rest of the ban fare? It's domination, so Vanguard Deadpool, very high in priority, but as we've already seen, if you ban out Vanguard Deadpool, that doesn't just knock the Jeff out entirely, it just forces one of the strategists to have to swap on.
All right, this part of the draft, fairly standard, fairly vanilla, I think. It was the last map that was a little bit odd. Here, Deadpool Vanguard for Shikigami, banned out Invisible Woman. potentially wants to get grabbed onto from Heretics to make it one-sided, meaning that you have a backline of Gambit, Invisible Woman, which could work, but it is a one-sided Deadpool Vanguard for Shikigami. Heretics won't mind. Alex might just run the Strategist.
I mean,
Oh, no, well, because Gambit's in
though.
play.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, Banhammer beats out the Charge 2 Raging Royal Flush, so if you can apply it onto the Gambit, it does become a little bit harder for that strategist to be able to stabilize. As we're actually getting a ban onto the Daredevil, and I think that's like a really high impact ban coming out from the side of Team Heretics. Frost Mountain being able to play the Daredevil, having that information, it works on pretty much all of your maps. Carousel can be particularly tricky as well, if there's a lot of like verticality, just being able to hold your position on the wall itself and just waiting for the team to walk out, the Vanguards to go past, and then hitting the backline when no one is any the wiser. As we're going to be seeing Vanguard Deadpool and Shikigami getting that one-sided Elsa, Heretics going to be getting one-sided Mantis, one-sided Gambit. So triple strategist line on the side of Team Heretics, yet again sticking to their strengths. Shikigami, though, they still get the dive. And Kaya will just look for soft engagements, trying to create more space for Leolas and Frost Mountain to work off of.
This is hard, though. Like, it's a good draft, I think, from Heretics, because that last one, you kind of don't want Tanuki to be able to have this, like, one-sided Daredevil, but you can also let the other team have Gambit, Invisible Woman, and Mantis. That feels like as gripping as it's going to get when it comes to the backline. Does Shikigami have to at least take one of those options out? Deadpool Vanguard is going to pair up nicely with Elsa, and you have to look at Leolas. You're playing the server admin. It's time to admin mod these people out from Heretics potentially. Otherwise, you are letting that strategy run riot from Heretics. A great way to end the identities of both these teams on full display on this domination map.
Well, Heretics did get Tanuki onto that Phoenix, and they have the Mantis for the 12% damage boost too. So damage potential potentially able to meet what the Elsa can output, especially since we're going to be starting off on Grove, where a lot of these fights take very long distance positions, which is why Shikigami instantly going to have Kaya start on the Strange, teleport the team into position to be on the point, and force Heretics to have to walk into them before Enzo on the Mag can get into position to anchor it, swapping off to the Venom, which now means that Heretics with attention will be split. Venom into the backline, forcing out some of those resources, while Shikigami scouts out Heretics' counter dive, not against the Venom, but onto their own back line.
Here comes Beetle, charging his way through, finds one of the strategists as Lindstrom has gone down in the process. Tanuki going to be fighting and brawling onto the objective, and with the help of Naga, able to take out a few more picks. Heretics looking to take the point first as Shikigami want to go for a quick reset if they can. They might be stalled out a little bit longer as Leolas is the last to go down. But Heretics winning out that first engagement, wanting to push up and make sure that these chokes are full held.
Yeah, Heretics doing a very good job of just staging the dive perfectly. Soft dive for the first with Beetle and Oasis just instigating into Lindstrom, forcing out the regeneration domain. Invisible Woman being banned means that you don't have to worry about force physics pulling you back when you're trying to get out. Reset, stabilize, go back in again when the backline is much more vulnerable. And winning that first fight puts Tanuki into such a good position. He's already 80% almost to this Endsong Inferno, always has the damage boost, and now gets the opportunity to read out where the dive comes through against him, to the point that Frost Mountain actually swaps onto the Phoenix just to try and match him.
He's actually very close to matching up Ultimate Charge too, despite the fact that he switched over away from the Star-Lord. But Kaya's been taken out in a neutral from distance from Naga, who's making the mechanics work very well with the damage that he's just able to output, not only amplify with the abilities that Mantis has available to them, which means that Shikigami stalled out for longer. His ultimates were building up and there was a chance to maybe go and really start to catapult themselves forwards. Yeah. They've been reset.
I mean, the problem for them as well is that, like, Mag is in play on the side of Enzo as opposed to double dive Vanguards from Heretics. Meteor M, one-shot potential. Lindstrom's already used regeneration domain, so you're going to be vulnerable. You don't have a shield outside of the Unicorn bubble coming on through from Easterdor. Frost Mountain does catch on to Tanuki, so Endsong Inferno, Meteor M combo not going to be up and available.
Kaya.
Heretics losing the Mantis as well. That's enough to force Shikigami's hand. They're going to walk onto the point, utilize the Banhammer, not both strategist ultimates, to be able to walk onto the point and just flip it.
Did Kaya just win a 1 versus 2? Like, he was fighting his own little battle over on the corner of the map. I think he had a little bit of help coming through from Isidore, but yeah, the Vanguards were on a whole different plane of existence here. You can see the outlines of them fighting up on the high ground. Laylis is like, okay, which fight are we taking? We're like fighting 3 different fights, guys. Which one is the priority? And they're looking at the fact that Heretics haven't used an ultimate in quite some time, probably expecting what we're seeing on screen. All 6 available. It's just a case of what is the go button, what is the call out. It's Shikigami that are going to move first, actually, with a copy from Lindstrom, who's going to go for the Gambit swap. He's actually able to grab up a big ultimate to take this fight into their hands, as Alex is going to come out with it himself. Ensong Inferno, is it going to be matched as Frost Mountain's the first to use it? Heretics have had all 6 of these ultimates, but they're just waiting for Shikigami to use theirs first.
Yeah, Soul Resurgence comes on through from Mantis. Nama utilizes Eternal Bond, gets through the portal to be able to dodge the path of Meteor M. Heads up play from the dagger, but Shikigami, like you said, out of sustain ultimates in comparison to Heretics, who still hold Freedom Charge. And Song Inferno comes on through from Tanuki. Oasis untouchable on this left lane too. Takes out Lindstrom's Loki, and Heretics in the overtime will be able to flip that fight and see Shikigami out. No one swapped to this range to be able to TP in time, and that closes out Cradle. Heretics go 1 up and are now within 1 point, 1 round of sealing out this series and grabbing that reset rematch against Na'Vi in the grand finals.
Gotta say, great restraint from Heretics with all of those ultimates starting to fly out from Shikigami. The call of hold was a pretty loud one. I also like Beetle using the Freedom Charge last after everything else was used, because you could just ult charge these guys that have just used up their ultimates a lot faster, and it trades across going onto these extra points. On that side, you have got Kaya that is going to be on that Deadpool Vanguard that is still going to progressively get stronger and stronger. It's actually a switch around. Actually, Isidore was on it, so now Kaya's switch over. So never mind. White Fox is going to come out to play, expecting more of a divey composition on the other side, as it is going to be Layla switching back over to the Psylocke.
I mean, not just that, but this also now means that your strategists can sort of peel each other, because Easter and Leolas, they're going to be tasked with going to put pressure on Oasis. Like, this Jeff is actually getting away with so much. Every time we go to Oasis POV, he's just playing on the off angle. No one's actually getting on top of him, and it's allowing Team Heretics to stabilize through a lot of these fights and set up for very fast dives with the speed boosts coming on out from those healing bubbles. Tanuki catches Frost Mountain, though. Shikigami missing the Elsa, going to be down a lot of burst damage and potentially down Leolas as well. Esau trying to put the pressure onto the backline, but just does not want to hold his position, understanding that the Phoenix can potentially stun him up and leave him too vulnerable. So he has to be a little bit more passive, relying on Kaya instead. Banhammer comes through, but the Deadpool's already fallen. Leolas sees one go low, but the Mantis doesn't manage to make it into the HF in time. Oasis might have been able to grab up some players, but crucially, Heretics, they grabbed the point, and Oasis got both the back line. Nami and Lindstrom down.
All taken out, and you've still got the Royal Flush to sit back on. Oasis is absolutely getting away with it, and who is one of the major characters that's very good at hunting down Jeff? It's Daredevil, and it's banned out from Shikigami. They won't have access to it, so it is a heck of an ask for the likes of Laylas to actually go in onto the backline and go for those fights, making sure that Oasis can't go through with it. Freedom Charge is going to be used from Isidore to allow a fast aggression, but it's going to be swapped over on the other side as Royal Flush comes through. Enzo is taken out as Laylas was retreating in the process, but still finds the elimination, hoping that the Dancing Butterfly is able to split these players apart, as Naga and Alex both go down. They're isolated. They weren't in line of sight of each other, but it is the Psylocke that takes them down, and it's maybe potentially a quick reset here, as Heretics are trying to reclaim the point, and the portal's in place, so yeah, they want to turn this around quick.
I mean, you've got the Solar Resurgence, which might force Lindstrom into having to just match fate of both worlds to have the sustainability since your players are going low. Lindstrom gets slapped, though, doesn't get the opportunity to use it, and you've already lost 3 before it can come on through and heal the team. And Heretics, they've got Tanuki just waiting for this Luna ultimate to be done. You've got the stun out. Easter, like you said, has to go for the portal because Shikigami do still have control of the point, but they lose the backline before the portal can come through. Did Easter use the portal cast time? We'll have to see. That's something that Heretics can punish if we go to OT, and Shikigami don't have it back.
Love that play from Heretics, though. Just the fast retake, even though the point is flipped over for Shikigami. That goes wrong. That could very much be curtains for this part of the objective. But Heretics having 3 ultimates to sit back on 2 does a lot more supportive in nature. Means that if Shikigami want to go for a fast play here with the Apex Predator, it might not amount to too much. Kai trying to build up a banhammer to the fastest of his abilities. He's taken so much damage, though. Forced to use the shield to just provide some space and a window forward. But Lindstrom gets taken out from Tanuki. That's going in for the flank. Edsong Inferno, if he wants to leap in a bit deeper, is handy. But there's a pick also. Now, Heretics just finding and isolating these hits, like Shikigami going down one at a time. It's in complete free fall.
They're so split, and because they're so split, that fight doesn't really build up all that many ults. I don't think they have portal. No one's swapping to this range, which means that Heretics just have to deal with these isolated players with all of the ultimate economy. Jeff comes on through from Oasis, has the sustainability. We've got Banhammer on the point too, and Shikigami have lost 2 of their players already. Soul Resurgence, the damage boosted Ensong Inferno. Shikigami are out of options, out of time, and out of Ignite Preseason. Team Heretics seal up the series. They get the rematch versus Na'Vi. And I mean, honestly, I think the MVP probably goes to Oasis. That Jeff, every time we saw the Jeff POV, just absolute vacation in the backline on the off angle, splitting the team, healing the rest of the team, and making sure that no one gets an opportunity to get on top of them.
And just as the criticism started to loom for Heretics for letting the Elsa through consistently, no matter the team, whether it's Terra for Na'Vi, or in this case, Layla's for Shikigami, they showed that it's the build around with the Gambit. The drafts were interesting. It was a full 5 mapper again, but you have to give the flowers to Shikigami for going on a terrific run, a well-placed 3rd finish in preseason above the likes of Virtus Pro and Rad especially. Shikigami shining a light on this Cooking with Kaya squad that has come together massively. But it's just that this Heretics roster, the Citadel core with players like Naga and Oasis and Beetle starting to really come into their own. It's just a case of whether it's going to be good enough against Na'Vi later today.
I mean, Beetle might have to name change to Cockroach because he just does not go down. That whole round, both he and Oasis, 0 casualty. For the 2 rounds that they played, just getting to play that dive, like I said, there was very little attention that could come through against them, partially in a lot of the impact from the ban draft. Off of the back of it, right? Heretics being able to take out, like you said, both the Daredevil, but also the Invisible Woman, plus that Mantis, meant that there just was not the damage boost, nor the utility to punish how aggressive both Beetle and Oasis were playing, and it made the rest of Team Heretics' team's job a lot easier because Tanuki gets less pressure on him. He's always getting to fire into a team who's split in half, with the strategist having to peel off the Jeff and the Captain America, which means that in the early fight setups, Frost Mountain and Leola's, they just keep going down to poke coming on through from the Jean Grey.
And that's a really good point, Moxie, because you can see it in the numbers as well of just how little Tanuki was actually being damaged back there. 11 final hits, going 23 and 2 in total. They were just barely being bullied at all. Naga was having a bit of a rougher time because he didn't have a way to flee as effectively. But even so, only went down 3 times and was still able to get 8 final hits of their own. Heretics, they held it together despite not banning out the Elsa every single time. We talked about it in one case, getting access to a Gambit and not even using it. This team, they're not on any kind of bandwagon, Ryan. They're just doing their own thing and it's working.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was noticeable this time around with Shikigami that wasn't the case against Na'Vi. Against Na'Vi, it was just musical chairs with what heroes these guys were playing. They were just trying to change up their comps. I think Enzo said in an interview that they want to practice the matchups. They practiced about 12 different matchups in one map because they were frantically changing to whatever heroes they could do. Here, there was a lot more cohesion with the plan. Even with the fact that Shikigami realizing, okay, yeah, Heretics is comp on Spider Islands. We can not really touch the Gambit here. We don't need to ban it away from them. We know that they're not going to use it. But Heretics sort of showing they can go around it. They don't need the Elsa. They can run his triple strategist, and Tanuki, who redeemed himself, frankly, comes on a superb performance with the Jean Grey especially. He has a lot on his shoulders to be that solo duelist, but he did so much. Naga continuing his prowess with Mantis.
A spectacular run indeed. We're going to be having Enzo in for the interview, Moxie, and Enzo themselves, a spectacular performance over all of these games.
I mean, Heretics as a whole, like the whole team, firing on all cylinders, that domination, like it takes a really strong team core to be able to just keep your mentality above board when you go through such a harsh map as a full hold Spider Islands. Like it does become really problematic. You have to basically just go, okay, we know that there were mistakes made on that map, but let's not make sure that it carries forward and affects us going into this next one, because if it does, then we're going to lose the series and then we'll be even more like annoyed and angry. So I think like, especially when we're talking to Enzo, just like seeing basically what happened in the time between moving from Spider Islands over here to their map pick is going to be something like really important to know, because they were able to keep that morale up to the point that they had such a dominant performance on domination. Like honestly, that last round of Carousel, not close.
Yeah, that was a really solid potential here. And I do want to go back while we're waiting for Enzo to join us here. Ryan, we've talked about Oasis doing some absolutely crazy stuff. We talked about Tanuki being uncontested. We talked about Enzo doing so much. Beetle was also just having a pretty lovely time in the backline there on that Captain America this time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're starting to see Captain America find a lot of popularity again, just with what like Finzi was able to do, to the point that the likes of Navi banned it out, just certainly on any payload maps, just being able to stall it, being able to speed up and expedite some of the ult percentage points with the ult, and just giving your team some space to work with. It's brutal, I think, when you're running up against triple strategist and you're trying to run 2-2, but if you have the cap, you essentially have another strategist ultimate. If you are also running triple strategist, you have 4 ultimates basically supporting your team, and when these fights are required to just go on for a long time, it's very helpful, and Beetle is exceptional at it.
But someone else who was exceptional is Enzo, who we now have ready to head into the interview. Enzo, a difficult matchup, but a lot of people after your match with Na'Vi yesterday were looking at you and saying, why did they not ban out the Elsa? Did this feel a little bit like a redemption run to come back in and show that it's not the be-all end-all?
I don't know. I'll say that there's some games that we played bad when we had a better matchup, but there was obviously some games where, you know, we've tried everything, it just nothing was working. So there was some draft issue, I'll say, on some maps, but you know, I still think we played bad and we should have won some of them. So, but yeah, obviously, like there's I don't know, this character seems a little bit too busted.
So it was a 5-map series, which obviously like goes the distance and also means that there's some maps that you win, there's some maps that you lose. Is there someone specific on the team who's like the glue that holds everyone together when you're trying to get from the tough times into the mental reset of, okay, that happened, now we just have to go again, go next?
I mean, when this type of thing happens, you know, someone like screwed the game, kinda. Not gonna say any name, but like Tanuki was a part of it. You know, I remind them of that game I played against FlyQuest at the LAN, where I completely run it down on Venom and say, guys, after that game, I tried my hardest and we were still close to win. So, you know, like, it's always, I did worse than you guys. So, like, just keep your head up, go to the next game, it doesn't matter, just go next.
I think that's a key one, and your go next is up against Na'Vi, and I guess before that series later on today, what went wrong yesterday, right? Like, you guys kind of dumpstered them in your group stage game, but they played exceptionally. You've got Terra that's on the Elsa that is a complete threat to deal with. Like, across all those 3 maps, what was the thing that you wanted to pinpoint and fix for today?
I mean, when you play a team that you already played, and the first time you play the games, you kind of storm them, the enemy team has the upper end, because obviously they're going to try something else. It didn't work, let's try something else. And you don't really know what they're going to do, and yourself doesn't, like, you don't really have, like, a reason to change your comp, because you won. So you're going to go do the same thing against a team that adapted to you, and that's where it's getting a little bit weird, because, you know, we were both coming to the games with different plans, like both teams, and we don't know, like, which one is the one winning, so we just play and we see, because in Europe, basically, people don't really scrim each other. Like, I play against Navi, like, twice in the month. I play against Rad like 3 times. Like, we don't really play against these teams. So, you know, we're streaming like other teams. So we're hiding stuff from like the other team in Europe. So it comes to the point where, okay, I think we have the good plan. They think they have the good plan. Let's see who was the best one. And yesterday was them. I think we talked about it for a long time. was a long night. Ended up at 2 a.m. talking about the draft and what we should have done better. And I think now we seems ready. This match was a bit rough because like the Wolves whole thing. I'm traumatized from that. I don't know. I'm just looking in the air. Where is it coming from? And they just stand on my face, and I'm just dying. So I don't think Navi has the champ pool to like play this type of thing. So I'm not gonna be scared of that shit. Not gonna be scared of that.
You were doing so
you know,
well. You were doing so well.
Yeah, I was so close to making it.
Always one from an Enzo interview.
But yeah, obviously, from my POV, with the way we adapted to the draft from yesterday, it's gonna be a way easier to play against Navi than Shiki, because they play really like a cheesy thing. They're kind of wolf merchants. So yeah, it's gonna be easier in my opinion.
Well, let's break that down here. You've talked about you think it's going to be easier. You've talked about you think you've sat down and you've come up with a plan. But what do you have to say directly to Na'Vi as they potentially getting warm up before they close the stream and get ready for that game?
Oof. I mean, they had a lot of time to warm up, so like a 2-hour series. I don't know. I'm not that guy anymore. You know, like I just wish them the best and good luck. You know, because you're gonna need it. But that's it.
A humble but still confident Enzo. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll let you go get prepared for your game.
Thank you, guys.